Sure, let's do it under discussion then.
5F.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can probably be projecting here in a minute on budget, aren't we?
I'm not sure, I don't know that we need to. I don't.
I'll hold steady
Peter, what was that again? Boulder County what?
Boulder County's management plan, new management plan for irrigated properties that may affect Hodgson Harris.
Yeah.
So type that as fast as you possibly can.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody want to make, we have to make a motion, right?
I make a motion to add those 2 items to the agenda for tonight's meeting.
And strike the COSA update.
Thank you. And omit COSA update.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Moving right along. And we have public comment tonight.
I'm Gladys Forshey. I host the Cookies with Veterans event on Veterans Day. And I brought this flyer. This year we're having a cookie contest. And one of the divisions is all the committees and commissions.
Oh, no.
I'm a personal chef, people.
Oh, yeah.
Straight over here.
Do you really need that?
That's all I do, Kate.
Okay.
They will not only taste good, they will look good.
They will be beautiful.
Someone might sabotage it though.
Anyway, we have 5 different divisions. The public service, the committees, the schools, the residents, and then businesses. And we will be giving ribbons for second and third place in each one of those categories within the division too. So anyway, I'm encouraging you to bring cookies, and we'll have a little program honoring the veterans, and have judges lined up to do the judging, and then we'll eat cookies and share them with the veterans that you bring.
Sounds tasty.
Who gets to be the judges?
Yeah, that's what I said.
How do you get on that gig?
Della Gibson, that is a resident here in Original Town. She served on the board years ago. Kathy LeMay, her husband lived here in Superior years and years and years ago. Paul Wiseman, that is the Boulder County Treasurer. Paul, and I don't know his last name, he has the modern house over on the corner of 2nd and Maple. Those are the 4 judges I have so far.
Nice. I can't believe it's almost Veterans Day.
I know.
Pardon me?
I can't believe it's almost Veterans Day. That's
I know,
crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
The tent has been rented again. Last year, Patrick got a large tent, and so Parks and Rec has gotten the tent again this year, which last year was a massive blessing because it was a blizzard.
Oh, man.
Massive snowstorm, yeah.
And so, but we had veterans that came. We had probably, there was 15, 17 veterans that came. And so by bringing a dozen cookies, then we put those on the table, and we eat cookies and chat and visit, and then the veterans get to take a bag of cookies home.
So that reminds me, do you want me to get walls for that tent? Because I didn't reserve walls to put on the tent, but I could.
Yeah, I think we have
Allison.
walls. Yeah.
Okay.
Allison
How about 3
said,
walls?
Allison said she got the same tent that she had last year.
Okay. I didn't order walls, so I'm
Oh.
glad that I'm sitting here and
Oh, yeah.
that it was snowing.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll make
we-
sure there's walls.
yeah. And she told me she had 3 tables.
Yep.
So we definitely
Lots of
need,
chairs.
yeah, and I don't know that we need so many chairs, because people will be moving around, because the program, if weather good, the program will be outside by the monument. But, because nobody used the chairs last year, everybody stood around and chatted and bullshitted and whatever. But anyway, so if you have to call, maybe you might want to get a couple more tables then. But, oh yeah, we have to have the walls.
Okay, so just a dozen.
Bring a dozen to share with the veterans,
Okay.
and we put them all on a table, and everybody takes whatever they want, and then when, everybody gets ready to leave, then we bag them up and give them half dozen, however many cookies is there. But 3 cookies to judge.
Okay.
3
That's
cookies
good.
to judge.
Okay.
3
Yeah.
cookies or 3 types of cookies?
No, 3
3 cookies
So
to
one
type.
I have to figure out.
And there are 4 categories. There's oatmeal, chocolate chip, peanut butter, and sugar.
So choose wisely.
So any
Not
of those
ginger,
4
huh?
categories that you can, that you want to make or whatever.
Snickerdoodle.
Chocolate chip's the clear winner regardless.
No,
Yeah.
Snickerdoodle. No, peanut butter's a sugar. I'll take a mini. I'll take any of them.
I move to strike Sean's comments.
But anyway, this is, the committees will be in competition between each other.
Cool, I
Nice.
love it. I've delegated myself. Unless somebody else wants
I
this
second
responsibility, I will happily take this on.
I love the idea of that.
That's great.
Outstanding.
Well, please
That's
come.
great.
It's great to honor the veterans.
Absolutely.
This year, we're going to have a little program, and possibly the American Legion will be doing the flag presentation. We still have to get that finalized. I have two speakers from Broomfield Veterans Museum that will do 5-minute presentations, one on women nurses and one on TAPS. And we still have to get our chorale finalized yet. That's not finalized. And then Father John will be here from Louisville Catholic Church for prayers.
How many years have you done this class?
This is the third.
Nice.
Awesome.
And it's grown every year. The first year we had probably 10 or 12. It was a beautiful fall day. And last year, then it was a blizzard, but, you know, they still came. They still came. And Home Depot and Lowe's in the past have donated flags, and I have letters out to them about that again this year. So hopefully we'll have enough to give veterans a flag.
Awesome, I love it. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for letting me come, and and I'll look forward for the cookies.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll tell the judges.
I'm gonna have to practice over the next couple weeks. My family's.
You know,
moving.
I
If you need us to come over and
right
taste
across the
test.
street, and I'd be happy to come over.
Yeah, I don't live too far either. I can bicycle,
All right.
walk,
We'll see what we can do.
jog, get
See
some
what I can
exercise.
fit in.
One for the team.
Oh, good. I actually looked already at the calendar. Do we have another meeting prior to that?
We can
No.
make one.
But I was like, can I do that then and have a little taste test here?
Subcommittee meeting.
Already working on
Cookies.
it.
Well, they do need to be homemade. Kevin, I went to the kids, I'm trying to hit every committee meeting this month. And I went to the kids last week, and Kevin tried to just, pass it off as any cookie. And I said, no, that is not the history of this whole scenario.
Right.
Because in World War I and World War II, why the families sent cookies to their men on the field. And the first year, Rita Dazelle wanted to do coffee, and I said, no. Military did not have coffee on the battlefield. It was just cookies only, and they were thrilled to get those. And so that's the basis of this, is getting back in time.
I'm in.
And the town doesn't do anything for veterans, and I think they need them recognition.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, we are closing up public comment. And now we can move into 5A, which is OSAC-related items on the 2020 budget. I have the agenda open, and I also have notes from Ryan so that I'm queuing, because I'm also not feeling great and very tired, so I'm struggling to remember everything that I've read over the last couple days. So I guess the big question is to Sandy, where it is regarding the trailhead.
Basically, it's on the agenda as one of the unresolved items. There
Right.
are, if you go out and look at the agenda for the budget, and this isn't when the budget's approved, this is when we're still discussing. It is out there right now for us to discuss because it's not in the budget at all. I think the questions will be, do we fund it at all? If we do fund it, how much? And then the other question would be is, where does the funding come from? Does it come out of the CIP budget, or would it come out of OSAC? But that's sort of where it is, because what ended up happening, the meeting that Tracy came to, we did not complete all the budget discussions. Then when we had the next meeting, we had two members of the board who were not there. Mark was not there and Kevin was not there, and so it was kind of like, it doesn't make sense to have the discussion without everybody in the room. So everybody will be there on Monday night, so, well, at least as far as we know, everybody will be there. So we will discuss it then. I have no idea at what time it'll show up, but it is one of the unresolved items. There are things that will change still in the budget, so it doesn't mean anything one way or the other that it's not in there right now. It's just not there because we haven't had a chance to discuss it.
This is Shan.
Yeah, this would be phase 2 of the Shan improvements, and there's 3 levels that you guys have recommended. It was included in the packet, the presentation that was made at the budget meeting, so that the public could also see those recommendations. And so if any of the public wants to come and talk on that, they could do that. Originally, it was not in the packet, and I said, hey, wait. We need to make sure that we have that information in there,
Okay.
so that everybody can see what all the 3 levels are.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
But that's pretty much where we are.
Okay.
That's very helpful.
Any other questions on that?
I really liked being able to see that budget thing. So I appreciate you guys digging that up and sharing that and making that something that we did for our pre-work. That was really nice.
Cool, great. All right. Moving right along. 5B, remaining OSAC budget for the year. So we have about $1,300 left. Ryan suggested maybe we purchase some swag for next year.
That's always a good idea.
Yeah, I think we've kind of run through everything we've previously bought.
And whatever we bought for 4th of July, was that sunscreen this year?
Mm-hmm.
We went through it super fast,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So what were our other ideas that we had?
I think we had more signage, like an open space or Trails Day signage or something. I forget. We have a list somewhere in some.
It was a follow-up on
Agenda.
Shan of ideas that we had. Or not Shan, sorry, National Trails Day.
Yes.
Like we wanted to
Right.
do.
Oh, yeah.
It was,
Treats that didn't have wrappers, so there wouldn't be trash all over Colton Trailhead.
Was that in an email?
Yes.
Was that an email you had sent? You started the process?
I
think
did,
I think it
and
was.
I think Ryan actually may have put it on the Google Docs. What's the Dropbox? I think it's in Dropbox, maybe.
I can look.
I can't remember.
We also had the idea of
There was a sign that we wanted about parking over at Town 15 because we were having to like direct people over there. And we wanted to find our dog sign, if that existed, or do something about getting another one of that. And I cannot remember other funding ideas.
You said dog park sign?
To keep the dogs away from the hawks, we have that issue every year. We had a great sign that we had for 1 or 2 years that disappeared again. And it was just on one of those, billboard sandwich signs.
Yes.
Good. I don't think it was anything special.
I don't see, I see the logistics in here, but I don't see the, oh, wait. Yeah, missing from the 2019 events. Schedule of events on table, dog signs, OSAC banner.
There we go.
Parking and event direction signs, folding trail maps to hand out, poster board trails map for display, dog bowls for water, which I think we just meant just to have some on hand, not to hand out. Non-melting snacks, zero waste snacks. Boulder County has a list. Town branded folding canopy.
That's a big one, in my opinion. But I think we should probably come out with the town.
Yeah.
fund or
I
something.
think Allison or Patrick said that was an easy thing
Right.
to do.
We do have a note in here, next year's entry giveaway binoculars question mark, so I think like a
Oh.
potential idea. I mean, that's one thing we could not only be looking at swag, but what we would purchase for our giveaways next year if we have a remaining budget this year.
Mm-hmm. No concept of how expensive binoculars.
They're not bad. I mean, you can buy them as expensive as you want, but general purpose, I mean, you can get decent binoculars in the $50 range.
Okay.
No, the burger, sorry.
No.
But you can get entry-level binoculars.
For giveaway.
$50 range.
For like
a
my
giveaway,
7-year-old.
yeah.
You can get a pair of
7-year-old,
Tide
$50 binoculars.
That would be perfect.
Right?
Yes.
And does anyone have any idea, candy? this would be Allison question.
Say that again?
Candy, how much that usually costs if we're doing zero waste candy?
I
For
will
giveaways?
ask her that question, because the only candy I know about is when we get it for 4th of July, and that usually costs a few $100.
Yeah, okay.
Do we want to be buying perishable stuff like food at this
Yeah.
point?
No, that's a good point, yep, just can't really. So, back to binoculars and
I like that.
more sunblock?
And then, I mean, one of the things we've given away a lot in the past is the dog bags. And one of the thing, if we do go that route, the Vargas guys, I think, told you.
Orange.
Many years, they've told me.
To get some color that's not green,
Yeah.
which I never thought about until you said that, and then I thought that makes a lot of sense.
Well,
So-
something bright,
Yeah.
not just, it needs to be something
Green or
bright.
brown or something like that.
Something offensively bright.
Yeah, so if we go that route, just, that's a note.
So what if we did binoculars for Trails Day and dog waste giveaway that are an off color? And that kind of that could get us set up for Trails Day and then opens up next year funds for 4th of July and potentially Chili Fest.
I
Or
mean,
more,
Are
or a
those
second.
bags $1,300?
With that,
Are those bags $1,250?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea how much we spent on them.
I think they're
yeah,
more expensive.
I think we're still gonna have a lot of budget
Mhm.
after buying this. It seemed like we spent $200 or $300 on them in the
I
past.
thought so too. So we could do signs, or another thought is, do we have everything we need for the Raptor program?
I think so. It was a pretty big
So-
chunk of budget that's supposed to last through 2020,
Okay,
so.
great.
So it'd be nice to know how much of each of those items we put together cost, so we could just max everything out on whatever we have there. Just spend everything we can on the list of things we had from our Trails Day, but someone has to, that's, I guess, where Allison comes into play, of budgeting or
Yeah.
figuring out how much
Right.
all that costs, and then we'll just say we want.
Why don't we just rank them? That's a good idea. We
And
want
just rank 'em
to
and
spend
just
all of our money
get
on
it
these
done.
things, 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, and
Yep.
as many as we can buy.
Do
That's
we want to
fine.
do that now?
Yeah.
Okay. Pull that
Thanks for
back.
finding that, Joel.
Yeah, no problem. So let's see here. Dog signs, is that something we want to put in?
I think that we can make that. I'm pretty sure Allison just printed it up
Okay.
and put it on a sandwich board that they already had.
An OSAC banner? Is that?
Don't we already have it?
I don't know.
We have it, because
We
I
just
think that's
didn't
what's
take
in my
it?
basement.
Yep.
Okay.
I just think it was missing at that
Yeah.
point,
Okay.
and then it's somehow found.
Folding trail maps to hand out?
Those they can make,
Okay.
right? Because they've made them in the past.
I don't know. I know it's something that's constantly asked.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking kind of like the passport thing.
Yeah.
I mean, those
I think
seem
that's good enough.
professionally printed somewhere.
Mhm.
And then we've got non-melting snacks, which we said we don't want to do perishables. Zero waste snacks, same thing. Town branded folding canopy tent. Is that
No.
something that exists, or is that a
I think that's
nice
just
to
a-
have?
I think it's a nice to have and a question back. Because
To Allison.
mm-hmm,
Okay.
is this something that's,
Does it already exist?
Right.
Can you guys pay for it?
right?
Okay. So that gets us down, I mean, the rest of the stuff is just recommendations, things we need to take next year. Toolbox for random issues, we need zip ties.
What about the parking signs? Do those exist?
Yeah, parking and event direction
We
signs.
have a ton of parking signs. They're the garden kind of stake signs that go in the
Uh-huh.
yard. Yeah.
Oh,
They
perfect.
say
That would direct them to
event
town
this
15?
way,
Okay.
and then we have a lot that say parking or no parking.
Okay, awesome. Well, so that just brings us down to swag and giveaway.
Yeah.
And we usually do 2 giveaways.
I don't know what goes over.
We-
We've done trekking poles a lot. We've done the camelback a lot. have no
And I
idea
think that's what
people
we
like.
did last year.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of binoculars or something like that. I'm trying to think what else. My kids love like walkie-talkies. Like,
Hmm.
they'll play with those for hours.
Oh, really?
Agreed, that's a great one.
I think that's a great
Interesting.
idea.
All right, let's switch it up.
Or,
Do
I have no idea.
walkie-talkies
How about-
relate to open space? Like, are we staying on
well,
theme?
what about those little eTrex GPS things too, where you can breadcrumb your hiking trail in altitude gain and everything. I don't know how much those cost, but.
Again, I mean, you can probably get them for 50 to 75, and then they go up to 400 or 500, depending on what all you want feature-wise.
Well, if we're giving it away, it'd be 50 to 75.
Yeah.
But still, it's a different idea, right?
Yeah,
I have one, and I've used it a lot, but that was years ago.
yeah.
Well, that's a cool thing. I mean, that really fits with trails, right?
It does, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
and they have like black and, the one I have is black and white with cheap.
I mean, the other thing is, we could come up with these ideas, and then we could look at potential prices, and then we could vote on our next one and still execute it in this year's budget.
Yeah.
So,
Good point.
I think maybe we should go that route, as just, put down our ideas, and then we can go, Peter wants to look at the binoculars. He seems like he knows more about them than I do. I can look at the GPS. And then,
And walkie-talkies.
and we can see from Allison what the price out on bags is, or if it's even possible to get brightly colored bags. I've never seen them, which you would think they would
I have.
exist.
They
You
do.
have?
Yep.
I
Okay.
feel like I've seen them too, somewhere.
But it's usually that crazy green, so it's gotta be hard to find.
Yeah. But if we could get prices on that, then next time we could say, we want, 1,000 bags or 10,000 bags. I don't even know what quantity we order in, but I assume it's a large number.
Do we wanna look at bags and sunblock, or just bags?
I think let's look at both.
People love the sunblock.
Yeah, because not everybody's gonna want dog waste bags if they're dog-free zones.
And Peter's gonna look at cost of binoculars?
Wait. So you're looking at binoculars, are you looking at walkie-talkies or the GPS?
I can do either or both, and I mean, I don't know if there's.
It was my idea to do the GPS, I'll do GPS.
You do the GPS, right? I mean, I would say, the more people
Yeah.
look around and come up with different ideas, the better. I mean,
All right.
So Dana and Allison question then is the cost of the sunblock and the dog bags. Is it Dana or Dina? Am I getting
Dina.
Dina, thank you. You probably correct that all the time, don't you?
All right. Let's move right along. 5C, work plan initial discussion, review 2019 status, discuss and come prepared in November to finalize 2020 plan.
Do we need to project?
We can. Sorry, things not well organized. Remember, Dina, when I said we didn't need to project?
Yeah, if you need to project
We
something.
do.
We do.
Please.
Who wants to drive?
I can try.
We're gonna project something. Did you need to do something special?
Yeah, just connect it real quick to the,
Okay.
once I can see it, yeah. Just need to connect it. Once I can see it.
Yeah.
So for the record, my daughter and husband were watching and voted yes for the cookie experiment at home.
They're like-
So they're also in agreement?
This is not the-
So
this is the normal
ridiculous. So I got a text
On
saying,
different login?
yes.
Now, there's 4 different
Someone
kinds.
who was in here last must have.
Okay,
I know
yes,
what-
'cause that's not the one that's gonna connect to the TriCaster. doesn't
Can you
have
just
to.
log out of that?
Yeah.
I have some opinions, but I'm gonna keep them to myself since this is a
That's
recorded
right,
meeting.
exactly.
I don't wanna skew.
Oh, there it is.
I do have some.
It must have just had a video up. Do you know the login code? For the computer?
No.
Oh, you don't know how to do it? Let's see.
And then.
I actually use my own because I don't know the.
They did. Help me roll in again this time.
Still on.
Here we are.
Okay, do you just want the internet?
I pulled the work plan, I think it's in a folder,
It
right?
should be in a folder, yeah.
Oh, that's.
However, if it's not, I can always go into my email and get it.
It's a special program, isn't it?
Town Superior one has,
And you
a
don't
little black and white
know how
iPad.
to log into that?
I think it's the Town Superior all over again, thanks.
Is there some, maybe you can go to the next agenda item? I hate to have you wait. I know it'll come up soon, but I don't know.
Yeah, we can
That thing
go.
automatically
We talked
cuts
about
off.
Boulder County.
Yeah, let's talk about Boulder County responses to open
I
space
clicked
trail.
switch user.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for some reason.
Ryan says it should be pretty straightforward. I don't see any changes except removing Shan Shan Trailhead, which is number 2, and the trail that they said is entirely inside Superior's boundaries, which is number 6. For the property, we could remove Rogers, which is number 4.
Yeah.
They have instructions.
And when we did talk about, when we were with Louisville, ranking that trail as number 1.
Right.
But we had it ranked as number 1 last year as well.
Switch user.
It was a little strange to me, like, when you looked at the attachments that you sent out,
Since they're on to another topic, what's the login?
like, our ranking in the summary was,
This is me.
like, it had
So
item
it's
number
in
like
data.
2 and 6,
So
like,
now it wants me to go.
it was kind
log
of
in
weirdly
as
presented, but then if you scroll down into our,
Okay, how come you don't know that?
like, the Town of Superior detailed section, it was, here's what we want to purchase, here's what our trails were, but they kind of cherry pick certain things from property acquisitions and trails to put in the
Okay.
top 5 list
Well,
at the top of it, so I don't know if that's just the way they present it, or should we talk about, is a trail our top priority, is an acquisition our top priority, or can we just let them interpret it? I'm not sure.
I didn't even read the top 5, I just went down to the town of Superior, so was it like the top 5
I'm
of
a,
each town, or?
yeah, I'm gonna bring it up here real quick and see if I can find it, because
But I thought that everything they put on ours was pretty optimistic, reassuring, you know, that they would
So,
assist.
it's
Everything
on,
was here.
it's on page 8 where it says, oh, no,
Yeah, it was all the way back on like page
Am I
19
looking
or
at the right
something, where the
document?
Superior stuff was, where they responded to this.
maybe I just read it wrong,
Yeah,
because
I think so.
here's trail requests and there's open space requests, so I think I just read it incorrectly, because I was reading it on my phone, so it's,
Oh,
I was confused what the Chew property was, but that's Shan Shan.
Mhm.
I tend to, okay.
Can we go?
Yeah, I mean, I withdraw my previous comment.
Folder?
It looks fine.
See if it's there, and if it's
Yeah,
not there.
I thought it was encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I had kind of forgotten about that was good to read from Boulder County is they basically said, you know, you guys take the lead on these open space acquisitions. If you can come to something, we might give you some funding.
Right.
I mean, so,
We just need to hope for them to
OSAC
get
work plan?
buckets of money, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So, we have our open space request. We have CenturyLink, Zaharias, Jack, and Rogers Farm, so we can remove Rogers Farm.
Mhm.
So we would have
That's in a,
those three still
it's in a
left.
spreadsheet.
Wait, what about
yeah.
the remaining sliver of Rogers Farm?
That's,
Is
what do you
that
mean? It's gonna be deeded over to
That's
town
gone
as
too?
open, no, that sliver is open space, they're gonna make that open space. The front part,
Yeah,
that's gonna be open space.
okay, so we can
The
remove
plan, I
that.
believe, was they were gonna deed it over to the town
Oh,
as
really?
open space.
Oh, okay,
That's last I.
I didn't know that.
So,
When will that happen? After construction?
I would assume so, I'm not sure. Sandy, do you
I
know?
have no idea.
Okay.
Everything's up in air, okay. So maybe let it float there, let Rogers float, so we know what's gonna happen.
So we've got CenturyLink 1, Zaharias 2, Jack 3, and then Rogers Farm 4. So we would leave those as is, or,
Oh, you mean for next year?
yeah.
Do we have to decide that now?
Well, we have to send it back to Boulder County, that's what we were,
Response to the open space.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they need it by January or something like that.
I was thinking end of the year.
Yeah.
I think it was January 1.
I'm completely fine with that ranking in that order. Anybody else have any thoughts on it?
I think other than scratching
Does
off
that-
Rogers Farm, does that, maybe you guys were just talking about that.
Well, yeah, does that line up with our comprehensive acquisition ranking?
So,
I don't
right,
have that in front of
so
me.
this year we had or something swapped. I think
This year
Zaharias and
Zaharias
Century
first.
swapped, right? And then after that, we had.
Last year CenturyLink was first.
Right. I can't remember what they were. I don't have that information at the top of my head. I just remember those top two switched this year.
Well, in town 15, I thought moved up as well. We really need to pull up the,
Yeah,
let me hunt.
But this is
Town 15 's
Superior open space request. Town 15 is already owned by
Yeah,
the
yeah,
town
yeah.
of Superior.
Yep, yep,
so.
yep.
Yeah.
But just thinking of what the ranking showed.
Given that the board priority to do CenturyLink is high, it maybe makes sense for us to go along with that to kind of, you know, to have a united front, even though,
I agree.
even though Zaharias was slightly higher in our open space rankings.
Mhm.
I think it
They were
helps.
very close.
Potentially be trust for,
Well, I hear what you're saying, but we
Yeah.
did those rankings for a reason, and we took in all those elements. The water, the, wildlife corridor, all of that, there was reason and calculation behind those rankings. I don't know.
I think we did put verbiage in there that any of the top 2 or 3 would be cool with us.
Absolutely, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
So, again, I'm not, really strongly feeling one way or the other. I'm just wondering if it makes a stronger request if, it's sort of a board priority
Yeah.
and it's also an OSAC
I'm
priority.
trying to find it.
So, yeah, in my opinion, I think we should stick with the current ways that we have it listed in 2018. Zaharias is being proposed for development, still a top priority, but, I think we should stick with the CenturyLink, Zaharias, and then whatever else after that.
Yeah, I definitely see Tracy's point, but I tend to agree with Sean that I think we take a little bit dose of probability, and I think that CenturyLink right now has a little more momentum for an open space acquisition than Zaharias would.
Mhm.
Totally true.
I mean, in Boulder County's response was, if you guys decide you want to buy Zaharias, please ask us and we'll see if we can chip in. So,
Yeah, I
So-
mean, the same response for both.
Exactly,
You know, canned.
So I guess the question is, do we want to replace Rogers Farm with something else? Now, we have discussed that Third Avenue property a couple of times, and that is actually zoned, I think it's a Boulder County area, that tract 919. And I know it's been shot down due to potential for flooding and whatnot. But on the other hand, it would, similar to Bojack and other things, be a continuous open space
Yeah.
parcel because it borders open space already.
And it borders
Right
Boulder
next to
County
the
open space, too.
Boulder County, yeah, and is Boulder County land now,
Yeah.
that particular tract,
And the residents would like that very much on Third Avenue.
you know.
Yeah. I wasn't aware of the Rogers Farm deeding, like that's news to me, so.
That was discussed at a meeting that I attended with Ryan and Corey with the developer, when we were discussing Town Center as well as Rogers Farm, and that came up. And it's nothing set in stone.
Sure.
But that was what was
Tentative plans.
thrown out there.
Yeah. Giving that piece of information, I kind of agree with you, Sean, that it kind of feels like we're throwing
Did you find it?
Yeah.
one away if we put Rogers Farm in there.
Yes.
So I would be willing to open it up to something else, and I think that one probably makes sense.
Mhm.
So our ranking is Zaharias, CenturyLink, Town 15, Third Avenue, 76th Street, Bojack, Rogers. Taking into consideration that we knew Rogers.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. It's April 11th, Ryan sent that out?
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, so I would put Third Ave on there.
So on there, on BOCOs, we have what? CenturyLink,
CenturyLink, Zaharias, Rogers, or Bojack Rogers, I believe.
Bojack, Rogers.
Yeah, Bojack 3, Rogers 4.
Okay.
But in our ranking, we've got Third Ave above both Bojack and
Yeah.
Rogers, right?
Mhm.
So,
Because it's for sale.
yeah.
I mean,
Right,
That's the
and-
biggest thing.
And 76 before
And-
Bojack
Yeah.
and Rogers.
So-
Are we submitting to BOCO what we really want, or what we think BOCO would help with? Because BOCO is gonna much rather help with like Bojack, of course.
But Bojack's not for sale and is currently,
Right,
got
yeah.
people living
I'm
on it,
just
family
wondering,
living
yeah.
on it, and they're,
I
The
think it's,
intent of
I
the
think it's
submission.
our, if you could go out and get anything, what's your number one thing you'd go get?
Okay, well then we would follow our list, right?
mm,
No, we wouldn't actually. If we could get anything, because our list takes into account, it has that one element of feasibility, right? I don't have all the categories here, but it
Yeah,
does.
I was looking
So it would be our wish list, our dream list.
So- Do we feel fine about the fact that CenturyLink is listed first and then Zaharias, even though that's not how we ranked it? I think that's the first thing we want to solidify.
I do, but that's my personal ranking, so I'm biased in that response. I mean, I would rank CenturyLink 1 and Zaharias 2, so feels right to me, but I totally get that as a committee, we did the opposite, and so if that's the majority of what we think, then I'm fine with that too, but.
So
I'm actually
when we
looking
went
at
through the
both.
rankings, I agreed that the open space value, according to our criteria, was higher for Zaharias. If I had to say the town should get one of these, I would say it should get CenturyLink. So, I kind of, go along with what you're saying there as well. While I firmly believe that Zaharias has excellent, habitat, protection, sorts of stuff like that, and that's why we ranked it first, as an open space acquisition for the town overall. Personally, I think CenturyLink would be a better target, especially if we're like desperate to get money from other entities for a big purchase like that.
that's the most
Okay, I'm gonna
common sense. Yeah.
go along with Peter.
Yep. Okay, so that's
So CenturyLink 1,
CenturyLink 1. we're good
Zaharias
now.
2,
Mhm.
Third Avenue 3.
What do we think? It seems like it. Third Avenue is 5th in this because of Town 15.
Yeah.
But we already own Town 15.
Yep, so it would make it, it's not 5th, it's 3rd, sorry. So,
Yes.
yeah, it seems like 3rd Avenue, and then, do we have to submit 4? Where does this magical 4 number come from?
That's what we submitted last year, or
Okay.
what they show us submitting. Longmont has one request, Louisville has
Oh.
two,
Oh.
Lyons has two. So
Oh,
um,
interesting.
we have four, Lafayette has four. I mean, I don't know that there's a magical number. I think it's just whatever we are comfortable with. I mean, top three is logical to me, but I don't mind doing four as well. I mean, you-
Well, we have 76 as the next on the list, and I mean, if we're going like what we really think is the best acquisition, you know, I would lean back towards Bojack before 76.
I think from a.
We just get in a gray area there,
Yeah.
it just gets messier.
Yeah, I think from a Boulder County perspective, Bojack's gonna be a lot more up their alley because of where it
Yes.
is
Yeah.
in relation to their, managed parcel there, but,
Yeah, it's high on their list.
I'm completely torn on whether we just stop at three or we put Bojack on there because we can. I mean, I think the reality of it is if we get any movement on any one of these four, it's a good year. So,
Amazing year.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I say put Bojack on there, keep it on the radar, but I'm open to thoughts.
I mean, I don't see why not.
Okay.
But, and do you guys want to have Third Ave before Bojack on the
No.
list? Bojack and then Third.
Because of our,
Yeah, we're not following our ranking, but if we're going,
Well, we're not following the ranking.
we're not.
Yeah.
We're not.
so we can't try and use that as a rationale. We're already not doing that with the first two.
All right, let's put Zaharias, CenturyLink,
What-
Third, and
do-
Bojack.
Do they have to be ranked? Why can't we just bulletize them? Are they asking for a ranking?
I
Or
mean, they
1,
have
2,
them
3,
ranked.
4?
Do they?
They're all, yeah, that's right.
Okay. So then Third versus
I
Bojack.
want the first two ranked.
I mean-
I'll be honest, and then the other two could be bulleted.
yeah.
I think let's put Bojack. I mean, we know that it's a better draw for Boco anyway. What do you guys think? Bojack is 3?
I think that's 6 of 1.
It is. It really
Yeah.
is. I mean, we want them all, so.
I have no strong preference on 3 and 4, honestly.
Likewise.
So why don't we scratch Rogers Farm? And we'll
Okay.
put Third there.
Okay.
We'll keep CenturyLink
Sounds good.
first, Saharias second, Bojack third, Ferry Avenue fourth.
Done. Okay.
Okay. Then we need to talk about the trails. So Superior Trail request from 2018. Dated myself there. Trail connection from US 36 underpass at Davidson Mesa. So that's the one we talked about with
Mhm.
Louisville. Where can we connect into there? Chew property, which is Shan Shan, should be removed. So 2 can come off. 3 is improved surface and safety of Colton Trail. So that's with the Southern Grasslands Management Plan that Boulder has to do.
Wait, can Shan Shan come off? Because where do they exactly, how do they exactly, no, I mean, it will really connect, like, right there, right? They don't need to
Yeah.
do any additional construction, is what I'm
There's
getting at,
about
right?
5 feet from the corner to where the parking lot ends. So it,
Do we
there's,
need to keep it on there for the 5 feet? Because they've got that easement and they're,
I think that was included with the.
That's what I
Was
thought
it?
The
too.
trailhead,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because there's actually a note in here, if we go down to Superior, like way down Superior Trail, it says Boulder County approved of planning associated with the project. Staff understands Superior will be constructing this year.
right, right.
So, I would think we don't need that because I think it will be done by the end of the year. What does everybody else think?
I don't know. I have no clue. They were so strict about that easement that I'm at a loss. Sean?
Just trying to, there it is. Okay, I'm sorry. What? I'm taking notes, I'm looking stuff up, I'm trying to listen with one ear.
Sean.
So our second trail request from last year says Chew property.
Yes.
This trail will link from the southwestern corner of the Shan Shan Chew property to the Meadowlark Trail west of McCaslin Boulevard and south of Depot Street, in Original Superior. 2019 Boulder County response, Parks and Open Space. Boulder County approved of planning associated with the project. Staff understands that Superior will be constructing this year.
Mhm.
So do we need to leave that on until this is completely finished?
well, it's supposed to be finished this October, so I think we can take it off, honestly.
And Ryan's statement was, I don't see any changes except for the trails, except for removing Shan Trail.
Okay. My question was only, do we need to keep it on because they have to do a connection of 5 feet to the trail, from the trailhead?
I think, isn't
But this
Superior?
isn't this for next year?
This is what trails we want for 2020 essentially.
Yeah,
So I would
so
assume
that's
that-
already been approved.
Yeah.
We'll get that 5 feet,
Yeah.
even if I have to put it in myself.
I mean, I think that's, that's
The
fine.
Kate's on Cookies, John's on Trail.
We're gonna get that 5 feet.
All right.
Just so you know, there's 3 of you left.
Very
You
good.
want to know what you're delegating yourself to.
Onward, Joel.
Number 3, improve surface and safety of Colton Trail to a standard consistent with Meadowlark Trail. This project will include changing the former road bed to a more typical trail profile by regrading and revegetating this long, straight trail segment. This will enhance the user experience by changing the character of the segment to be similar to surrounding trails. The response from Boulder County is Boulder County agrees with the need to upgrade this trail. In 2019, BCPOS will be doing design work for the potential improvements to the Colton Trail. Once the county determines if Colton becomes part of RMG, which I think is Rocky Mountain
Mhm.
Greenway, yeah.
Mhm.
Funding and staffing could be made available for this improvement. So 2019, they're supposed to be looking at a design on that. So I think we leave. This is one we want. Number 4, link between Mayhofer Single Tree Trail and Coal Creek Regional Trail. Mayhofer Single Tree Trail, it's a mouthful, and Meadowlark Trail meet at 3rd Avenue in original Town Superior with an interim link to the Coal Creek Regional Trail near Town Hall via soft surface trail along the rail bed that scales the berm up to the McCaslin Boulevard and then north along the roadway to the bridge over Coal Creek. The town and Boulder County have coordinated in the past to plan a permanent link to CCRT via the rail bed and north below McCaslin Boulevard and across the creek. The interim link has proven to be very popular, getting users from Marshall Superior Colton Trail system to the CCRT system. Town has budgeted to build a pedestrian bridge as part of this overall plan. And then a response is Boulder County Transportation is still interested in this project moving forward and willing to coordinate with Superior on a permanent trail connection. So that to me sounds like we want to leave that one in there.
Mhm.
So that's kind of interesting to me because I had thought that the deal with getting the Shan Trailhead connection is that they were going to close the trailhead access on the corner of 3rd and Depot there. But this sounds like they're continuing to be open to that. I mean, does anybody know what the thinking is on that?
No, so again, the last I knew about putting the trailhead up here was they're gonna close the trailhead down, if you can call it a trailhead, the opening
The
down
gate,
on
yeah.
2nd, right?
I thought
It was still,
I thought we were talking no parking instead of closing the trail.
well,
My
so
Tyler
that,
specifically talked about closing it.
we talked about closing it. That was kind of an open action item. That's apparently still an open action item as to where that's going. It was Boulder County's understanding, as far as I know. I have not gone back to watch the video from that date back in, what, a year ago, August or whatever it was, to see what exactly was said. But they were excited that they were going to put this in to eliminate other trail connections. And that would be one of them. Plus it would take away, would help eliminate parking problems, even with no parking signs there or whatever, right? If you eliminate that. Now, there was some discussion recently about screening it so that people within the neighborhood would still use it. But people that know about it, if they think it's still there, they're going to keep using it. Even with the no parking signs, they may park farther away, but they'll still, if it's easier to get to than trying to get into this driveway, this windy driveway we got going on being constructed, which Trace and I have more to talk about later. That's where they're going to go. It's quieter. If it's overloaded up there, they would go down there. So that doesn't solve the problem. It continues the problem, in my opinion.
Right, but that doesn't make sense in line with everything they told us. Just like what you said, the reason for Shan.
Yeah.
so I don't understand it either. I mean, the bridge, you know, crossing over and being able to, get across the creek, I get that, but, and we talked about that with, Patrick, but I don't know about this, the other details. Does anyone have a visualization of exactly what they're saying there? Yeah, it sounds like they would cut right through the bottom part of the Shan Shan parcel and go up, but I don't really know.
So it currently does. I mean, it runs right along the rail bed, and then it's sort of, there's kind of a zigzag that goes up to like this McCaslin sidewalk, and then you're supposed to take that down to the Coal Creek Trail. But there's no point in that if there's no connection onto Mayhoff or Singletree from there.
Right, because we were talking about rerouting it up through our trailhead then, right? Just everyone go up the sidewalk and then out the trailhead there. So.
Considering that it's part of a real regional trail system, I really have no idea, right? Because I think Mayhoff or Singletree is part of the Coal Creek Regional Trail System. And so, from that perspective, there has to be a connection.
Well,
I just don't understand.
And the other thing I don't get is, I mean, you would go up the berm and then you would go north on McCaslin, but you would still go underneath McCaslin here. Where, I mean, that makes a lot more sense to go under the pedestrian bypass. It's just straight south of Town Hall versus anywhere else. So, I mean, go up to McCaslin, down, then back over, and then come back around. I mean,
yeah, and that's I think why it was left as an open action when Patrick left, because of the regional trail in this. But again, BOCO was excited at the fact that we were going to be closing it down and was assuming that everything would be rerouted up through the trailhead at that point.
yeah.
So you go up to go back down.
Which, I mean,
So.
then my immediate thought is, well, if people aren't going to want to climb that hill just
No,
to
they're
come back
not.
down it. So what are they going to do next? They're going to go out through Coal Creek Crossing, where the new connection comes through. And then they'll ride down, what is that? Is that Third? No, it's not Third. That runs just south of the park. Whatever that street is.
I know what you're saying.
So I mean, I don't know that any of us have answers as to exactly what's going on. I think the bigger question here is, do we leave it on since there's uncertainty and see what the response is now we have Shan Shan? Or do we take it off? I think that's our decision here.
I think it will, if they actually choose to do anything, or when the time comes, they will reevaluate the whole situation after Shan Shan's built, so things would change.
So another thing, so this phase 2, this expanding not just the trailhead, but kind of expanding the amenities down the hill over here. We'd also discussed, when Vanessa and I went out with Larry Dorsey from the Historical Commission to kind of survey the whole thing and the historical things and whatnot. Vanessa and I had also talked about potentially moving the intersection of the Coal Creek Trail from going through the rail bed through over to where it connects now in Second onto the other side. So basically people could still enter on the lower part of Shan Shan and go on the inside of that fence over to the where it would connect in, so that it would all be still within that Shan Shan property, that parcel, but it would still connect there as opposed to farther down the street.
You talked about that with Patrick too.
I did talk about that. I talked about a lot of things with
But I don't remember.
Again,
It was an open response.
It was an open response because we had all these other amenities and we didn't know where it was going to go, and
Right, if it was
so
gonna happen.
if it was going to happen. So maybe we need to rethink the wording on this. Leave it in, but maybe rethink the wording on this so that a trail connector would actually go through BOCO open space as opposed to along the trail bed and the town property on the Second Ave side of things, just on the other side of the fence, which is expensive.
Yeah.
It'll be expensive to create that.
I think that's completely reasonable to rethink our wording and our request on this, given what's happened this calendar year. I mean, I think that probably makes sense. So let's.
What number is that?
That's number
Number 4.
Um,
On page 21.
Yeah. So is everybody in agreement we would leave it in and then reword it, or does anybody else have any other thoughts on it?
Agreed.
No, I'm fine, that's good, yeah.
So far, we're removing number 2 and we're rewording number 4, correct? Okay, good.
Number 5 is add access to the Meadow Lark Trail off McCaslin Boulevard near High Plains Drive. Short trail connection will follow an existing social trail that leads from High Plains Drive to the existing Meadow Lark Trail. Boulder County's response is this trail is not identified as a neighborhood connection in the Marshall Superior Colton Trail Corridor Management Plan approved in 2007. Additions and changes would need to be evaluated through an amendment process for this plan. BCPOS has in the recent past provided the town with a modified potential connection that could be considered for an amendment to the plan if the town would like to move forward. The county does not have staff or funding identified for design or construction of this improvement. So, does everybody know where we're talking about, High Plains Drive?
That's the Ridge 2, or the Ridge property, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so, and does everyone know what the plan they're referring to is? We had discussed this, what, a couple years ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. So we actually had BOCO come in a couple years ago and we went through some of these things. And the thing that was discussed back then, we were talking about potentially having, right now, if you go down McCaslin, just before the roundabout, New England thing, the roundabout, there is a fence that BOCO can enter and exit vehicles through.
Yep. Just past the stoplight.
Just past that stoplight, and we were suggesting, why can't we make that a trail entrance, or just put a pedestrian entrance there?
Because people use it.
Because
Yeah.
people jump the fence to use it, and it makes a nice loop, right? You can do, and that people like loops. They said no, because it's not ADA compliant, but the alternative was to do a trail potentially up behind, which I found that whole conversation seemed weird, behind the ridge, along the reservoir, out to the trail. The trail is already built. But the problem is the burrowing owl, which is why you or Vanessa brought that up previously, why nothing was potentially going to go there, because we have.
Did they say that was a problem? I don't remember.
No.
that. I remember them talking about the plan.
No, they talk
was
about the
problem.
plan, but then you bring up a very good point of
Oh, okay.
the burrowing owls. I'm like, so if they're saying that, as long as we pay for it, they'd be happy to think about approving it. But if there's burrowing owl activity going on in that area, then I don't know how they could approve that. So
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean,
Well, I mean, they have burrowing owls on the Rock Creek Trail, and they close it seasonally. I mean, it was closed for, like, what, 4 or 5 months?
on Cradle Board out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it may be they would restrict
Right,
access
that's
to
my
it.
thing.
Yeah.
But the question is, if we make that an access point, people are gonna start wanting to park at the townhomes. And I know that neighborhood, just like original town, is not gonna want that.
Well, there's no parking really there anyway. I mean,
Right, and so they're gonna, I don't know, I guess they park on, I don't know where they park, right? We just bought the Ridge 2 property around the corner here, but
Well,
I don't think we want yet another trailhead
No.
entrance, right?
they
So-
did go back to that driveway later on. It's down lower, and they did say, we presented options to the town on ways that they could consider doing this, blah, 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 blah. So we still could get rid of this idea to try to keep our citizens happy and continue that original concept. Just takes more time and money. Not necessarily, I mean, that would be a much longer section, really, but it's an idea.
So, what are you proposing? Rewording this, or?
To take it off, because they
Taking it
don't,
off, yeah.
they're not for it. And they sounded, I thought, in this verbiage this time, more agreeable to the one that they axed the last time you were here, the driveway.
Mm,
But that was just my perception.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, it wasn't as harsh. Like, when they were here, I thought they said, no, it's not ADA. I guess you could do this, or this, but that would take time, money, and we're not really here to talk about that today.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that didn't sound as harsh in that text that we got. Any other thoughts on it, anyone?
I
Yeah.
just think if it were to go through, which I don't think it would, but if it were, I think what Sean was saying around the parking, we've got Shan not that far, we've got Colton Trail, like, well, it's a social trail.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about creating loops, but I'm not about creating congestion and problems for people that don't necessarily
There's
want
just
or
no
need
space
that,
for
right?
that area.
I think the people at the townhomes would rather have a sidewalk in front down McCaslin for those people that like want to commute to work by bike than having a trail going out past their houses to the open space. So I'm for removing it at this point. I mean, we've discussed this for 2 years now.
At least.
I think it's been longer than that.
Maybe more, yeah.
I think I'm kind of in the same camp as Sean, without a clear direction on what we really want. I mean, I don't know if we have a consensus within our group on what the best option is or what the feasible option is. I almost think we should take it off, and then as we revisit trails in 2020, really think about what do we really want on this? Are we wanting a soft surface trail on the other side of McCaslin than the one we have, or we just want to connect her into there? I don't know, because I'm not sure I'm not even sure my opinion on this one, other than I'm confused about their response and what we were asking for.
Yeah, I think if we're looking to create loop trails, this is not the answer. We just need to think of other alternatives to create loop trails.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that people do like doing change of scenery, not having to backpedal on the same path.
No, I agree 100% about the loops, but this one to me doesn't really create any loops unless you want to run on the side of McCaslin.
Well, yeah,
Right.
exactly. That's your loop, is you're still on McCaslin.
Yeah, or you cross at the stoplight and run down the soft surface to
Right.
the other side, but
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, it's not.
that connection's pretty much there anyway via the social trail, so.
So take out,
Take out.
Yeah.
okay. And number 6,
This one, I think we probably want to remove too, given the response, but it's trail along McCaslin Boulevard from Indiana South to the Calmonte neighborhood, and their response is, staff understanding of this request is that it is within town of Superior limits and Superior Road right-of-way, thus it would be under Superior's jurisdiction. That, to me, kind of sounds like they want any part of it, so
Yep.
we should handle that one on our trails plan.
all right, anything else?
Are there any other trails we want to add to it?
I mean, it seems like all the ones that have been ideas in the past, they've kind of declined for other reasons.
The only other thing that was on my radar for this is when we met with Louisville and we were talking about the Marshall Lake area. Do we put that on there just as a icebreaker to say, is there potential for some sort of access or trail there? And I don't know if we want to correspond with Louisville Open Space and say, are you guys putting it on there? We talked about it jointly, because I think it helps if we're on the same page as Louisville is.
Did they put it on there?
I don't know.
I'm looking right now, okay.
But that might actually be Boulder City property out there.
Probably is, yes.
It definitely is.
So,
That's true.
I don't think we have any, I don't know, we don't order it. I mean, we get our water from it.
well, I mean, I'm just saying from a trail perspective.
Yeah,
Boulder County wouldn't have any say
Yeah.
over that.
That's a really good point.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, correct, sorry,
Yeah.
city, county, yes.
The county owns, like, right at the bridge, like, as you're going to the west, like the bridge that you cross the ditch towards 66th Street, like, from that point over is county, but to the west is city. So I think you're right, that probably is city and not county, so probably not the place to ask for it.
I mean, it's worth looking into if there is some plan to try and do that, to get it on the county's radar, but it may not be under their jurisdiction.
Well, Louisville said at our meeting that they were debating asking BOCO to amend the grasslands plan So they think it's BOCO.
I will look right now just on the BOCO maps property search site.
The other thing on our Louisville list was that they wanted further connections to Superior, over to the ConocoPhillips, parcel, and we talked about that at length, so that's the only other thing I said.
Yeah, I don't think that would be BOCO though.
No.
That's actually Broomfield, I
Yeah.
think, where that was. Although, let's not forget about that, because that is a really important connector
Yeah,
between
it is.
the three towns.
Yep.
All right, so
So we're gonna
City of
keep-
Boulder.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead, Sean.
City.
It is City of, so on the east side, it is actually, I'm still looking there, it's split in a lot of parcels. Oh my gosh, some of it's still privately owned, believe it or not, but yeah, everything I'm seeing is City of Boulder, not Boulder County. Yeah, City of Boulder.
That's too bad.
Yep, sorry.
Okay.
So,
So we're gonna keep 1 as our trail connection, remove 2. 3, we keep on there, which is Colton Trail. 4, the link between Mayhopper and Single Tree, and Coal Creek, we're gonna keep and potentially reword.
yeah,
And
You said
then,
3 we're keeping, sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
So the only ones you have to worry about are remove 2, reword 4, remove 5, remove 6.
Okay.
So 4 through 6 gone.
Okay.
So we don't have a lot after that. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Okay,
1, 3, 4.
we good to return to work plan?
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, is it blurry? Is it me?
It's
Yeah.
wobbly.
I don't know how to make it bigger. Do you want me to make it bigger?
Oh, no, here, down.
There you go.
Here,
Here,
yeah,
right?
sure. All right, let's do
Feel weird.
this.
Trying to try.
That, and then,
Oh, I can't see that.
yeah, it's off the screen. All right.
Oh,
Much better.
Discuss and come prepared November to finalize 2020 work plan.
so I'm gonna start with, just reading what Ryan had sent along. He says his big items, are should we do the property review again next year when we just finished it last month?
The ranking of the available
Parcels.
open space parcels.
And he said we could say that we will update anything if they change, if anything changes, so.
I mean, I think it really only needs to be updated if we substantially change membership. I mean, if we-
Or if properties get bought or developed or whatever.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, if we add 2 new people, I think it's always kind of a good exercise to go through with fresh committee members. Are we short 2 or we short 3?
We're short too.
2. Well, where's Marcy?
Marcy's not here, I don't know. Okay. How do you feel about that, Peter?
I'm totally on board.
Okay.
So which one was that? What number?
It's Ryan's note.
Yeah.
Number 5 is the priority one, right?
Okay.
So are we reviewing what we still need to do this year, or are we proposing things for next year?
No, we're starting to think about next year.
Okay.
And I have, you don't need to make notes in there. I can make notes in the one that I have open.
Okay, good, thank you.
And that way, this one stays clean and you
Yep.
can kind of cross compare. Keep on if membership additions occur or major changes in properties occur. You'd also had a thought about wanting to update the OSAC portion of our website. We could consider making it an outdoor resources page for the Superior Committee. Right now, the webpage is not awesome.
Right.
Although, I don't know, I know that the webpage has gotten updated by Kevin.
Yeah.
Is he doing all of the committee pages too? I don't know.
No, each liaison does their page.
Okay. Okay, that's good, that's helpful, because I was thinking about that earlier. I was like, wait, is that already something that's gonna happen?
So on that note, can I ask about the 2019 ranking? Where are we at with that? I had emailed Ryan about it, and he thought that it was going to be in the board's notes to approve for this upcoming meeting, and then would go online thereafter.
I believe that is correct.
Okay.
Give me a second. They have not met, the board hasn't met since we've published our minutes. So once the
So
minutes
it'll be on
are.
10/14.
Mhm. Once those are up.
And then Allison should pop it online.
And I think, we don't have a community cleanup even on our work plan.
Oh.
We should decide to keep it and promote it better or drop it. We had 9 people sign up, 2 from the committee.
Oh, the school didn't.
Wow. Yeah, didn't the school participate 2 years ago? It was
I know.
Before last.
Oh, maybe.
Last year it was, I think the schools participated.
They did last year.
Or
Yeah.
was it 2 years ago?
No, last year, just last year.
Because this is my
Superior
second
Elementary
fall.
did.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what we need to do, is maybe we need to try and make outreach to like schools, like Eldo and Superior.
And
Make it
then Anna Marta, K8.
Right, because we do have Superior kids
Mhm.
going there. Yeah.
I
It
would
might
love to
be,
keep it on and just have a better plan around promoting it.
I would as well.
Because I think it's kind of a given.
It seems like it really sneaks up on us every year because it's right after the Chili Fest.
Mhm.
And then, like, I think.
What is
this
that,
year-
National?
Day of Service.
Day of Service.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could do a better job partnering with our youth committee.
No,
Although they turn over every year.
no, not necessarily.
No?
I think, I don't know when, Sandy, at what age or grade level do they start being?
When
can
they're
they become-
seniors, they'll go off. And they can come on as young as, I think, 7th grade.
Oh, they
Wow.
can?
Middle school.
And they can
Okay.
stay on for same term length that we have.
So, yeah,
Okay.
if-
Yeah, I mean, they had a big chunk that went off this year because they were sort of the original group of kids that came in. But it shouldn't be as, you shouldn't have a big turnover every year now.
Okay.
Yeah, I like keeping it and
Promote it.
promoting a little better,
particularly
whether
among
schools or Boy Scouts, Girl
Some
Scouts.
youth
um,
thing.
That type of thing. I mean, I think it's a good practice to have them in the community.
Okay. What else?
Did you have your other notes?
I don't think so. I think that's
Okay.
it, sorry.
Do you want to just whip through them?
Yeah.
Because it looks like a lot needs to be removed.
Yes. Let's go for it. So first quarter, hold election, that's given. Review ecological study related to Hodgkin Harris. We can take that away, right?
I would think so.
Yep.
Solicit Shan-Shan amenities from other town groups, we can take that. Develop criteria for short-term and long-term open space property targets.
Which we've already done.
We already did that. That was our big project.
So we take it off, okay. Review properties based on criteria developed, keep on, if not, we
You
just
just
did
said
that
that, yeah.
one, sorry. Plan and schedule a National Trails Day event.
Yep.
Review approved 2019 or 2020
2020
budget lines and fund balances applicable. Evaluate outreach opportunities, example, dog education, Rocky Flats, Greenway, town and regional trails and education events. I feel like this is such a big maybe I'm the only one that thinks it's.
I think it is, but I think it's purposely vague because we
Okay.
don't really know what our opportunities are sometimes. I would vote to leave that one on.
Me too.
And I don't know if this is the place to put this, but I don't know who I was, maybe we talked about it after our Louisville meeting. That how, the CAPS, all the CAPS events are so well advertised. We get tons of emails, we get, you know, things in the mail. I don't know if this is the place to put it, just putting it in the evaluate the outreach. I would love to see, I mean, we have National Trails Day, but I think we get emails about it, and that's about it. I don't know if we get a flyer in the mail, I don't know if anybody remembers. I just feel like we're doing ourselves a disservice by not doing a better job advertising. And I don't know if it falls in there, and if it doesn't, keep that in the back of your mind, and let's figure out where it does fall.
We could certainly just make a bullet point for it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
to reevaluate our marketing for our community outreach events. I think you're right. The feeling I get from most of the people that go to National Trails Day is, oh, didn't know this was going to be here
Right.
today. You know?
Or they've been going for years.
Right.
Those are the two categories.
I'd be happy to share my promotion plan.
Well, right, you're a CAPS person.
Ooh.
So you can see the strategy.
I would love that. That would be amazing. Okay, then, this is, the one that you were looking at is actually slightly different from the one that I have. Oh, no, it's not. Schedule annual joint meeting with town board and prepare addendum. And then participate in meeting with RC Superior discussing trail connectivity.
Where do you see, where's that?
That was on the one that Ryan sent, that I included. So this is the one, this is the draft one that we did. I have the one that's,
Oh,
That's-
and I'm happy to pull that up, it'll take me
No,
a
it's
couple
fine.
seconds.
no.
What was it again?
Participate in meeting with RC Superior discussing trail connectivity between Rock Creek Development and downtown Superior.
Okay. Yep.
And that happened. Second quarter, meet with pros, there weren't any that I missed up there.
No,
Okay.
you got what I had.
Okay. Meet with ProStack leadership to do, actually, back up.
What?
First quarter, what is the thing that we keep saying that we need to, if we're gonna do trails?
Oh, we
Trail
wanted to do
ranking.
rankings earlier. We want to do it in Q1
Rank trail?
and make
Rank.
sure, it's not just the ranking, but making sure that everything is synced with ProStack and that our ideas and their ideas are all put together at the same time before we rank everything.
Right.
Because it always seems the cart before the horse.
There's also still needs to be a Town 15 meeting with leadership for ProStack and OSAC. That still hasn't happened, so I bet that's way at the bottom, I'm guessing. I don't know, but.
And I'll take some responsibility for that. Trustee Shaw and I, we're going to try and put a little pressure, not on this group, to see if we could pull that meeting off. And I completely dropped the ball on it. So I will talk to Trustee Shaw again. Is it your all's feeling that, I mean, it looks like the Prost master plan is currently in the 2020 budget. So you're kind of going to have to work together on that activity anyway. But as far as the Town 15 meeting, I didn't know if you wanted me to go ahead and press that to see if we can get that meeting before the end of the year. Again, I dropped the
Yes.
ball. Okay.
That'd be nice.
I
Okay.
think, based on how timing has worked, let's press for it for this year and we'll see what
Okay.
can happen.
Then we will, and if you don't see me get back to you in the next 2 weeks or so, continue to push me just because I'm
Understood.
forgetting some things, so.
Okay.
Awesome.
You got a lot.
Okay. Yeah, just keep pushing me and we'll get it done.
Okay. Trail ranking is synced with ProStack. Was there something else, right?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. There was something else I feel like you had with that. Think about it.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I said.
So, before we move on to
Mhm.
Q2, does anybody have any other additions for Q1? like, I think, Shan Shan, depending on how the budget discussion goes, I feel like we still need to push forward on amenities for Shan Shan,
Yeah.
the Coal Creek Regional Trail, and how that would look within the Shan Shan lower property, along the fence line. So I term out at the end of June or July.
No.
June? When is it?
That's not acceptable.
Well, I'll try and negotiate that one side, but.
Your brother Stan Samuelson.
You look strangely alike.
Identical twins.
Sam Shanielson. But I'd like to try and get as much done on the Shan Shan stuff before I term out, as possible.
I was
So-
thinking of putting it in ongoing, but I think with that point and all the work you've done, that we should put it in first quarter.
I'd like to.
Is that-
Mhm.
Everyone else okay with that?
How do we want to word it? Like a Shan Shan evaluation or assess?
Well, I mean, depending on how the,
It really depends on the
Budget.
discussion of the budget.
Okay. Why don't,
and
can I just
what's-
put it as Shan Shan for now, since we're not
Just-
finalizing anything?
yeah, yeah.
We'll just put it there?
Yeah, Shan Shan.
Readdress Shan Shan project needs and BOCO trail connectivity.
BOCO Regional Trail Connectivity.
Readjust Shan Shan project Shan Shan Trailhead project needs and BOCO regional trail connectivity. Got it?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm so glad I'm not having to take notes.
I did write the word project instead of project, so I can fix that later. Any others for Q1? And I'll be honest, I feel like there might have been one other thing that I gotta go back and look at my notes. I just have not had time over the last week, but.
I had sent off to Matt and Patrick the parcel spreadsheet, just with logistic stuff on all of the parcels, and I haven't gotten that back yet. But Matt was gonna work on it. He said he touched base with Patrick before he left, and that he was gonna be able to get us all the info. But I wonder if we actually get that, if that would be something we want to just review briefly in Q1. Because it would, in theory, should have on there who's the property owner, when were they last contacted, by whom, what did they say?
Totally.
Review parcel.
Acquisition spreadsheet. I don't know. I don't even remember what I called it. Make up whatever name you want right now.
That looks good right now.
Parcel historical, something like. right,
Logistics.
Something, yeah.
So many words.
Throw some words in
I'm
there.
just gonna send it to Ryan and be like, here you go, yes. No.
It's like those magnets on the refrigerators.
Exactly.
And on that, I have a question. If Allison wants to follow up with Matt to do the proper chain, if he's worked on that, or what we should make of that.
Do we have a new Parks and Rec director yet?
She probably knows better than I do.
The interviews are on the 15th,
Oh, wow.
and there are 6 candidates.
Oh, that's awesome.
She did know more than I did.
He did. It was a wealth of knowledge.
Okay. Q2, meet with ProStech leadership to develop a collaborative plan related to common interests for the year.
Yep, keep.
Okay. Develop 2020.
Actually, this should be in Q1, in my opinion. I feel like the sooner we get together with ProStack to sync, the better off we'll be over the course of the rest of the year. So I think, along with the, trails ranking, this should be hand in hand with that in Q1.
Okay.
Yeah, seems logical.
Develop 2020 budget recommendations for town open space projects. Finalize plan for Shan Shan design.
Phase 2.
Does that feel weird to take it off, or?
I think it'll be fine if it's in the Q1.
Okay.
Because that all goes into that. If we get budget, then we'll have to be working on that.
Mhm.
If we don't get budget, we'll have to decide when we're gonna bring it up to the board again.
Hold on, sorry, Q1. Revisit previously identified open space acquisition priorities in conjunction with open at Jeffco.
So we never really did this for Jeffco.
I'm just looking at Ryan's notes on the,
I'm sure, well, why would we have this in the second quarter? I mean, because it seems like, to me, it's kind of what we did with the, tonight for VOCO. And we don't really get that from Jeffco, right? We don't get a,
It's because we only have CenturyLink land in Jeffco.
But we were, and it would still be great if we could reach out to Jeffco and let's put a goal for.
That's number 7 down there, I think.
Yeah, you're right. You were right, Peter?
Yeah, so I think
Of
we can
course.
strike the Jeffco part and just stick with VOCO.
okay. I hope this makes sense to me later. Annual, oh man, annual update of trails, priorities, plan, and recommendation.
Yep.
agree with them.
Mhm.
Is that, do we feel any differently about that? Because we said that we're in Q1, we're reviewing properties based on the criteria developed, but we're going to do that if membership additions occur or major changes in properties occur. Do we want to
No,
hold the
this
same?
is trails, not, no. So this is what we're talking with ProStack in Q1 about getting a common set of trails in mind. And in Q2, we're actually doing the priorities of those trails. That's what that is.
Okay. Have presence at Arbor Day event. Pursue regional collaboration with other open space committees.
Yes, we got Louisville this year.
Yeah.
We have
These
Jeffco and
guys.
Broomfield, we didn't do either of those.
Who will only ever get that?
Well, and, who is it that, you have a contact on the Broomfield.
Let's,
Yeah, so does
maybe we
Ryan,
just
actually.
eliminate Jeffco and focus on who we do have contacts with. And Peter, you could work those contacts hard to try and get something happen. I know Broomfield
Well,
City
and
/
I
county.
can't. That has to be a staff-to-staff coordination.
So the person you know is on the open space committee, not
Yeah,
staff? Oh,
right.
okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I mean, I thought the Louisville meeting was really good. I was glad we
Mhm.
had that, and I'd like to try to do that, you know, with other committees.
I agree. I'd like to leave Jeffco on there. I know it's a pie in the sky, but we just abut to all of that Jeffco land. I don't want to write it off.
Is there any, and I know it makes Q1 heavy, is there any reason not to move it to Q1? Because it's just pursuing it, right? It's just a communication. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
necessarily meaning we're having a meeting, so in my
Yeah.
opinion, to start that process earlier, because it took us a long time to get
I mean,
Louisville.
you could either put in Q1 and put it on ongoing.
Ongoing.
Because that's
Okay.
ongoing.
Post-National Trails Day event on or
Can
near.
I make a comment on that?
Sure.
I do feel like it should go in Q1, because if we put it in ongoing, then I feel like
Gets lost.
it doesn't get addressed.
Okay.
If we put it in Q1, it's like, okay, we have to do this.
Okay.
All of a
These
sudden,
are actual priorities for that time period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Post-National Trails Day event on or near June 2nd.
Looks like the 6th is coming in.
Joel is on top of it.
We got one thing. I also know how much walkie-talkies cost.
Oh,
You already got that
my
down.
Yeah. So,
No, a good pair, not the big ones.
yeah.
G.I. Joe sized.
I love that size. Anything we want to add to Q2?
Do we want to do anything around wetlands? I mean, we have 2 reservoirs that we are getting wonderful reports on and everything. And yet, we never really specify anything about our Autry Reservoir and Hodgson Harris Reservoir. And do we want to do anything around that?
We also need a place for the Raptor
That's,
boxes.
that's exactly what I was gonna say, is we don't have anything in
Right?
here at the Raptors, and that's been a big focus. I don't know what we need
I
in
don't
here.
either. I don't know when the last one.
I would have that under ongoing.
Okay.
Because it'll just be kind of an ongoing sort of thing.
Okay, I might actually.
And do
Sorry.
we want to add anything about the
Take away.
Broomfield ConocoPhillips connection? Just trying to be a
Yes.
cheerleader for Louisville here. And us.
And I think that's something that's going to probably be a topic of interest in 2020.
Yeah, for a lot of people.
But that's more of a trails thing, right? That's
It's
more-
true.
It's,
Yeah.
But it's more than a ranking, don't you think?
I think it's a community conversation based on what we talked about, the fact that it was, you know, creating access that's safe for kids to get to high school, truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to put it in just monitor,
But then we don't do it.
not as a ongoing, as a Q2,
Okay.
like just monitor the happenings with that development plan.
You could, but I'd rather say monitor wetland habitats around Autry Reservoir and HHR Reservoir, HH.
Why can't we do both?
Sure. Not a monitoring. What are we?
I don't know about the monitoring.
I don't know what the monitoring of the Phillips Conoco, what are we doing with
I don't know
that?
if that's the right word.
I don't think it is.
But how about say something like follow-up continuity, to that property or
And
something?
engage
With
as
who?
needed.
With who though? Who are we engaging with?
Louisville and Broomfield.
Louisville.
Oh, okay.
Because the property's mostly in Louisville, but the connectivity bit, I think that we're talking about, the southern part, I believe is in
I
Broomfield.
thought that's what they said.
Mhm.
So,
that would be kind of in the same vein as what number 7 is, right? Regional collaboration.
Well-
That would be a sub-bullet of, well, I guess
Should be
Broomfield,
Broomfield.
not Jeffco, but.
Yeah.
yeah, that would be actually be a really great topic if we can have a joint meeting with Broomfield.
Look at that. Perfect.
Boom.
Yep.
No idea what I'm doing right now. Oh my God, that was terrible. It's
So-
a good thing nobody can see what I'm
I was
doing.
gonna say,
Oh, it's so
what's going
bad.
on?
Nothing, don't worry. It's so bad.
It's a
My
train
spelling
wreck.
is not good. Wow,
Unbelievable.
it was so bad.
Okay, so you have the ConocoPhillips thing?
Follow up and engage with Louisville and Broomfield on ConocoPhillips property development plan.
What do you want to say about wetlands then?
So we've had some opportunities this year, right? We've had some opportunities, the community's had some opportunities to have tours of the HHR and the wildlife in that area, 2 tours, and we've had reports on the species and everything else. I think we need to formalize something around the wetlands, not just of HHR. I mean, I feel like there's something going on at Autry Reservoir too. I just don't know what. I know development's going on over there, but I mean, I can't imagine that there isn't wildlife over there as well. So there's not.
Not really.
Wow.
Surprisingly.
Yeah,
Well, and I think it's
it's
because
big.
there's development around the whole thing
Yeah.
of it, so there's.
So they would come and be, there's
So-
no path.
This is the one that's like Flatiron Mall,
Yeah.
right?
You're across the street from like
There's like
Chick-fil-A.
randomly, like a crane in there occasionally. Because I drive by there all the time to get to Boulder.
I can never see what's back
And
there.
there's a lot of trash, truthfully.
Oh, really?
So maybe that is actually something.
Who actually owns
I
Autry
have
Reservoir?
no idea.
The apartment complex,
Interesting.
Ah.
Really?
Yeah.
they do.
That's.
And in fact, I think the Resolute property, the Superior Shores, was trying to work out a relationship with them so that their residents could actually have access to it, because otherwise they really don't.
And so I guess when I say there's no bird life on there, I'm basing this on some research I did
Absolutely.
earlier this year on community observations.
Yeah.
I do not bird there very often myself, but I'm just looking at what other people
Yeah.
have reported.
Yeah,
So-
you're not getting an argument from us.
No.
You are the bird expert.
Well, I just wanted to put that out there, that I don't want to make it sound like
I
I've done.
challenged him. I said, I've seen a crane there.
Like
so
I've done.
no.
You said, you said
You
at
probably-
crane.
One.
It's probably actually a hair on it, but, you know,
Yeah.
let's not split feathers here.
So,
It's a great idea though. considering we don't ever do anything with it, we focus all on Hodgkin Harris for good reason, but, and trash, and, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
And while we don't own it, it doesn't mean we can't
Well, I don't
pay
know.
attention to it.
I don't know, can we pay
I don't know,
attention to it?
it's the town of Superior.
It is,
You
but
know,
it's
you have
privately
to
owned.
talk to, I mean, it's private property.
Yeah, it is.
So I think what you'd have to do is talk to town staff about it and see, you know, what their restrictions are, but I know pretty much it's not something we have
Who would we
access
talk
to.
to about
I've
that?
never heard.
You know, I would
of a
just call
reservoir
Martin or
being
Matt
Okay.
and ask them what they can tell you. I mean, normally you would ask Patrick,
It's a
but,
reservoir.
Right.
but we're Patrick-less right now.
We are
It's
Patrick-less.
possible that maybe Allison would know something about
Okay.
it, but.
You want me to put that on my question list?
Sure, that would be great. I want to
Repeat it for me
keep
real
it
fast.
monitoring Autry and HHR until we have that answer. Okay.
Fine.
Does that sound okay?
Sean, can you tell us a little bit more what you're thinking about specifically for this sort of thing?
Well, again, it hasn't been on a work plan, but because, Zaharias is at the top of our priority list for acquisition, and we've had these tours, I feel like we need to formalize one of our jewels in town and all the wildlife, like maybe we need to more formally say, start putting together, I don't know if we can, again, we have to go on other people's property, but formalize touring and not just monitoring, but touring and promoting what that is and give it more visibility. The studies that have been done, all the different species, I mean, no one would ever know that. I mean, and we just started doing that this year, and that was just, I think we need to have something in the work plan to formalize and promote that wetland activity and habitat and just bring it to a higher level formally.
I think we could even add that to the to one, reevaluating marketing for community outreach events and
Yeah.
programs.
That's,
And
yeah, that's you could.
But it would be a different.
I think it's
It would
two,
be.
yes, I think it's two different things.
I love it.
I just think the more visibility that gets, the more valuable it becomes to this town and puts things in perspective with the land for sale next to it.
What about that report? Can we do anything with that? Because we didn't do it. You did it, you participated, but it wasn't an OSAC report, and it's so amazing.
So the one that the Breeding Bird Survey team submitted last year actually is in the OSAC part of the
It
town
is.
website. So you could
We could
put
do
it-
the same.
You could put that
Could we-
there.
And could you, I'm referring to you, could you do like a little article in one of the write-ups about Hodgkin Harris and, look at this report? Would that be a crazy idea?
No, not at all. And I
'Cause that's promotion, right? There's no reason we couldn't do that. Do we have to wait till next year? I mean, I think we could do it now.
No,
right?
I think we should do it.
It should be ongoing.
So we had talked to Patrick, Vanessa and I had talked to
Yeah.
Patrick about doing a kind of an ongoing, what's happening in open space
Right.
with respect to
Remember.
wildlife and plants and that sort of thing for the
Raptors.
the Parks Rec and Open Space Monthly newsletter. And I don't know if that they're still interested in getting those.
Really? Oh, well, yeah.
So-
Turnover.
I mean, I think Patrick seemed pretty enthusiastic about it, but I'm pretty sure that some of the ones that were submitted just never got published, and so I don't know if that's even still on the radar for that.
Should we ask Allison?
Mm-hmm.
And if she still wants to get them, that's something that I'd be interested in doing
Okay.
bi-monthly or whatever. I know Vanessa was interested in doing it.
Yeah. Can we ask Allison that too?
Yes.
Thank you.
What that question is exactly, I can find out.
So, we had started at least one article written by one of our members about the Raptor program. And so there had been an interest in kind of keeping that kind of going in the Parks and Rec newsletter that goes out. So that's something that we would like to continue that. How about that? Is that?
Okay.
And to do it, not just about raptors, but about different.
Yeah. Yep. Q3. Are we okay moving on to Q3?
Mm-hmm.
Have presents at COSA, have presents at July 4th and Chili Fest. You feel good about the Chili Fest one? Okay. Review.
Wait, was this
Thanks,
Q, are we in Q2 or Q3?
Q3.
No. So in the second quarter, one more thing. Big party for Sean.
Okay.
All right, now we go to
I'm gonna
Q3.
put that somewhere.
That goes without saying.
Yeah, right.
A lot of years, huh?
It's a lot of years.
What is the term limit? I don't even know what it
It depends on when you started.
is.
So my term is actually longer, a little bit than
They're
his,
3-year,
actually.
but they're 3-year terms
I
each.
think you and I started really closely at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's 1, 2, 3, whatever.
I was, because you just started in January, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Have presents at COSA, presents at the two things. Review open space related budget lines for 2020 budget. Is this a duplicate from Q1?
No.
Okay. No.
It's just like we did tonight where we looked at what we have in our budget. And
Okay. Receive a presentation from town staff on open space related budget items and expenses.
Which we didn't get this year. But I think it's good, especially, we should have new people, hopefully, and I think it's a really good topic. We've had,
I think we did, maybe it was
feel
like
like
in
we did.
January or something.
Oh,
Because
really?
I remember being super interested to.
oh, great.
Yeah.
To hear where all the many different open space related expenditures went.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Good.
Did we get it from Allison?
I'm pretty sure it was Patrick.
I was gonna say, I think Patrick did do it, I think you're right.
Okay. I've gone.
Yeah, that would have been
Yeah.
early in the winter, I think.
Okay. Yeah, awesome.
Okay. Anything else for Q3? Yeah, what's the thing that we just talked about that we have dropped the ball on? The picking up of trash?
Oh, yeah.
No,
Nat-
National
Day of
Day of
Service.
Service, yeah.
So is that Q1 or 4?
Jill said it was right after Chili Fest.
It's
Like
like
the
23rd of September this year, I believe.
Yeah, it's like a 9/11 thing, so it's in
Okay.
September.
Okay, so we'd have to do a second?
Well, early
Set it all
third.
up.
I mean, we would have a meeting in July and then one in August.
Yeah,
And
either one.
then it would be the third month of the third quarter, right? So we could do that in the third quarter. Yeah, I think we should put that in the budget, or not the budget, the work plan, because
Okay. I think that's
it does seem to
usually
get
why.
forgotten.
Yep. I'm gonna put it kind of potentially straddling second and third quarter based on the timing. Because I think it's, since it's a national day, you know, we should be able to look ahead even to next year. Okay. Oh, okay, that did not spell correctly. Anything else for 3?
When do you guys want to start coming up with names for trails throughout town, wayfinding names?
I think,
Naming
opinion-
or wayfinding signage process? Because isn't ProStack doing something with, or has it only just been on ProStack's list forever to do something about that?
I think it's been on their list forever to do something, and I think it is a much bigger project than we could manage as a committee. I think it's a contract people out to do it.
It is, it's a town staff.
Yeah.
Executed thing. So are you just saying, not just, but are you saying names?
Just names.
Okay.
I'm just talking names, not songs, just names.
I like names.
And where, you know, what we're trying to accomplish, right? We had our meeting with Louisville last year, and they had their, if you treat it like a bus route, right? And you have your different bus routes, how will we do that in Superior? Do we want to have like school routes throughout town? You know, the main line to get to Superior through different ways. The ways to get to Sandy's house, you know, from different points in town, things like that. But just kind of come up with common threads of high interest. You know, everyone knows you go west to open space generally. That's easy. But it's like, what are important things that people are interested in? Is there going to be a historic, one of the trails I think I suggested earlier was kind of a historic trail, heritage trail or something, or,
Bike park, skate park.
yeah, the main parks, right? How to get there from the main roads, I guess. So it shouldn't be too many. I mean, we
No.
don't have a big town.
But it is a collaborative thing with
Yeah,
Kristen.
I don't.
It is, and I think, no, I have no problem starting it now, to be honest. I mean, with all the development going on, we can still start these discussions now.
Well, I just added it to the Q4, kind of, I'm keeping a list of meeting with ProStack leadership and putting wayfinding on there, community input for names for different trails. I think these are the things that, because I think then we have a place to talk about the collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to really double down on what John's talking about. I think that's a crucial thing.
Mhm.
It's so hard when you're saying, well, you know, there's that thing
Yeah.
that's behind such and such a street.
Yeah, why wait?
It's impossible to talk about it. People come and ask us things, how do I ride my bike to this? And you have to like say, well, you follow this yellow line on the map. It's impossible. It would be so great if we could really jumpstart this and
But
get,
do we come up with names before the wayfinding is completed?
not necessarily, but I think jumpstarting the process.
Yeah.
I really have to agree that that's got to be a priority. And I know you guys have talked about this for years and years, but
But we haven't got anything done to
Yeah.
that point.
Is it in a budget? I know that the master plan is gonna be redone, but it's not budgeted at all.
What the sun?
You know, there might be something in there for wayfinding. Let me go back. It's not one of those hot topics that I remember a lot, but I've got the budget. Let me go back and
Okay,
look. So
great.
keep talking, and I'll go look.
But you're right, you could do it without the budget and without, you know,
at least
an
get the
updated
ball
master
rolling
plan.
on it,
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
to get a process going.
I
And
mean, I like
clearly,
that idea.
it's going to be a multi-year process,
Yeah.
but
I mean, one of the big things I took away from Louisville is when they were talking about how they name things with logical names. This is the Lake to Lake Trail and things like that.
It's really nice.
I think that makes a ton of
Right,
sense.
bodies of water, parks,
Yeah.
schools.
And they've
This
been
is
working
the-
on theirs for
the pool to pool.
5 years.
This is-
Oh, yeah, I can never, when we first moved here, I had no idea where that South Pool was, like,
Still
where
don't
is
know
it?
which one's South.
So,
No, I
had to ask, where is it? Go
Which
down
one
that
has the
little
water
side
slide?
street.
That's
Yeah,
the one.
that's the only one, right.
Can we move forward to Q4 and then to ongoing? Did
Yep.
we do Q4?
Yeah.
We didn't do it, right?
Not much,
No, we
Okay.
no, there's not.
Review and update open space summary report and recommendations to incorporate any new acquisitions. Begin discussions regarding 2021 work plan, which is weird. Evaluate 2020 outdoor education programming. When we're doing that. Determine annual public outreach and education programs, events.
agenda item for next time.
Mhm.
And ongoing, continue to work with town staff, town board and staff to acquire high priority open space.
I was wrong. I don't see anything in there
No,
for
budget.
wayfinding. It may have been
Okay.
in there in the past, and
Yeah,
we removed it
possibly.
because it just, we had bigger priorities, so I do apologize. I know I've seen it though, and so.
Okay.
Oh, you know what, it may be, keep going.
Okay. Investigate OSAC funds being used for mineral right acquisition.
We didn't do
No.
We haven't done that, but, and we need to, but I do remember talks with Justin Spring about mineral rights, and that if he worked on, of Conservation Fund, if he worked on anything for us, he was going to address mineral rights in the discussions. Now, I don't know if he's done that, but,
Yeah, surface rights and mineral rights are two very different things and usually owned by two different people at this
Yeah.
point.
so we should dig into it, huh?
Mineral rights can be owned by hundreds of people for a small parcel because of marriages and divorce and births and deaths
Yeah.
and wills and
And
it's
even
very
just
complicated.
Crazy.
even just finding that information, excuse me, is quite a challenge, right?
Can be.
Continue to provide input on all proposed spending from town's open space fund. Continue to monitor board agendas and provide input as provide input on Rocky Flats.
So these are just the ongoing updates that we
Yeah.
provide each meeting.
Continue to develop and implement Superior Raptor programming. Maintain the Superior Trails and Open Space Continuity documents. Provide open space related feedback to PROS Master Plan and Town Comprehensive Plan when needed. Investigate additional flora and fauna enhancement, encouragement opportunities. Update Town 15 position paper as needed.
Okay, I want to go back and tell you, there was wayfinding money in the budget. It was $10,000 in the budget this year.
Oh.
I don't know what we spent it on.
Hmm.
But it says we're gonna spend $10,000, they're estimating we'll spend it before the end of the year. At least I know I wasn't crazy that
Not crazy.
wayfinding was in there, but there is nothing budgeted for 2020, so.
Can you
But-
find out what we spent it on?
You know, I can ask,
All right.
because I have no idea what it was. And it was just under other new capital improvements.
I wonder how much
Yeah, that's the reason it
10,000
wasn't put in the 2020.
gets you for wayfinding. We should have asked Louisville how much they spent on their project.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
Yeah,
No, I
Yeah.
can't imagine it's.
I would
So
bet they
if they
spent
worked on it for
10,000.
5 years,
Right.
Well, and I had sent information to Alex, and I don't know whether he and Patrick talked about it, but there was some Dr. Cog money that was available at one time for wayfinding. Now, I don't know, you know, it may not have done our internal trails, but I assume it would do major connections kind of things. But, you know, it may be that they just determined that it, because they would have had to dig into whether it was appropriate or not. But we have put money in there, and I'll find out what we spent that $10,000 on,
Huh,
because
okay.
I don't know.
well, so it's been a priority before.
Yep.
Yep.
With regards to number 11, the flora and fauna enhancement, just as a point of information, I had a nice conversation with Matt Rarick, who's the Parks and Open Space Director, and they've got all kinds of, potential things that they would like help with in terms of promoting, people to keep an eye on open space, to do projects on open space, and so forth. So under that, there is all kinds of stuff that we could potentially be partnering with their group on.
What director?
Matt Rarick.
Of where?
Operations manager
Yeah.
for Parks
Okay.
and Recreation.
Okay.
He's the guy I always tell that I have a tree dying on my
And he's
berm.
in charge of the crew that literally takes care of all the parks.
Okay.
Like the sprinklers.
Well, that's great to touch base because we have tried to look at that in previous years and kind of not really come up with a heck of a lot, so.
I mean, there's seriously opportunities, it sounds like. They've got some ideas. I think they're gonna try and do like a goat weed control thing.
Oh my
And
God,
so
that's amazing.
citizens love that sort of thing.
They
So if we
do.
can kind of,
Here.
have
I
a
love it.
program to go along with that, that's kind of segues into weed
Yeah.
stuff. They are wanting to work on the pollinator beds. He has like adopt a trail or adopt a open space ideas and this kind of thing. They just don't have staff to do it. And if this is something that we would kind of want to take on as sort of a promotion and outreach kind of thing,
For
You should
years.
come to one of our meetings.
it would be there. Well, so, yeah, we're kind of hoping that somebody could come, and then with the staffing changes, it didn't exactly work
Okay.
out. So I just talked to him on the phone.
Nice. Can we move that to, is it a crazy idea to just move that to Q1? To maybe have a presentation and initiate?
That would probably be a great time to do it, actually.
Photo, flora and fauna. What do we call it?
Encouragement opportunities.
Encouragement opportunities. Do you think you would present?
We can ask.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Or maybe the new director would want to kind of use that as a learning experience
Yeah.
as well.
Maybe we could move our meeting to earlier in the day on that day. Like,
Yeah.
start at 5 instead of 6:30.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else anybody can think of that they want to add at this point in time?
Because there's hardly anything on there. That's
You would know.
ambitious. I mean, that's a lot of stuff.
So I'm gonna do my best to edit, move, and then I would like to, I will send it out again as part of pre-work, or maybe even a little before that, to kind of get people, I might do it like 2 weeks before and then again the week before, so people kind of have a couple weeks to really think it through. Because I'm slow at this time of the year with everything, so, and then we can maybe make it finalized in November.
Okay.
All right, I think we're just on, not just, but we're on updates and look-aheads.
Oh, no,
sorry,
Open
Addie.
space continuity.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of anything that needs to be updated, but
The one he sent out wasn't the OSSRR though. That one needs major rehaul. The one Ryan sent out. CenturyLink
Yeah,
is
that's
missing
the-
info, Ridge 2, Rogers Farm, Town 15, Harris,
Yeah.
they all need,
So does
Massive
anybody
updates.
remember, did you take responsibility? I don't remember who took responsibility for updating it.
I thought Marcy did,
Okay.
but I can take it
That
because
was-
it, I think, goes in line with that spreadsheet. So if you hand it over to me, I will overhaul that.
Okay, I will let Ryan know.
Yeah,
He said he's happy
I
to do
agree
it too,
with
so.
that. No, I think Tracy is a good one for that
Okay.
because it does go hand in hand with what she's doing.
I just wrote Tracy to overhaul. Okay. Thank you for not letting me skip that one.
Yeah.
All right, updates and look-aheads. Shan.
Okay. All right, so first, Sean and I wanted to touch on the name. Does anyone know where that process is? And this is a Sandy, or a
Well, I
trustee
can
Hammer
tell you,
question.
I just sent an email to Matt because part of the problem that we have with our packets is we get the minutes, but we don't get any related information. So,
That's not great.
you know, so I'm reading the minutes, of course, and going, oh, that's right. We were supposed to ask, you guys had asked us to make a decision on the name, and you'd also asked us to accept the 2019 report. We did not get a copy of the 2019 report, and so I have asked Matt to add a copy of that, because then, by inference, if it's attached to your minutes, then we have it, and when we accept the minutes, by inference, then that means we also accepted the report. However, there was nothing in there about when we would discuss the name. So I did say, Matt, they have specifically asked for this. I would like to know when we are going to discuss this, because certainly OSAC would want to know, and I would assume the Historical Commission may want to know too, because they had some input to the process. So as soon as I hear back from him on that, I will let you guys know, because I can guarantee you there was nothing on the agenda for us to discuss that. And it may be that we won't be able to do it on the 14th because it wasn't on the agenda, but I did call everybody's attention to the fact that the names were in the slideshow that you guys had given us, which is in the board packet.
Great.
And that, you know, it's possible we could have a discussion that night, but it feels wrong to do it when it wasn't really an agenda item.
Yeah, and it does, there's, I mean, we wanted to have it when the trailhead opens, but we also don't want it to be rushed.
Yeah, you
I
wanna
don't
have a
want it to be
thoughtful
rushed.
discussion,
I don't want to speak for
yeah.
you, Sean, what do you think?
Well, I mean, you know, I literally said, guys, we don't want to call this the San Chan Chu Trailhead anymore. We want to give it a name,
Yeah.
whatever the name is, and we have
I
some
mean,
names here.
what we do for Wildflower Park, right? You guys gave the name before the park was even close to being open. And I feel like
Yeah, I
this
don't
thing is gonna be
remember,
open, we
but,
have nothing. And we don't even
Yeah.
have a sign that says open space
Yeah.
anymore, it's gone for some reason.
well, if by some chance it changes and we're actually going to make a decision on Monday night, I don't know, because it's a pretty packed agenda, and we're going to be done at 11 o'clock. We will not be going till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Is there another board meeting this month, or is that?
There's one on the 28th, and that's when we actually approve the budget. So we could do it on the 28th, but
If we
I
can
have,
just get it done this month, that would be great.
I will try very hard to get it done. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a 2-hour discussion or anything, so it seems like we could, but if we noticed it to be on the October 28th agenda, then you guys could come in, Historical Commission could have their say if they wanted to. But I did bring it to their attention that you guys actually asked for a decision on that, and then for the acceptance of the report. I don't have a copy of that report that you guys did, so hopefully Matt will ask Allison or whoever has it.
I just checked, she got it in an email in September, so.
Yeah, well, it's not her
Absolutely.
fault. I mean,
No.
it's sort of been what happens with the advisory committees. Even back when I was on an advisory committee, we would include the minutes. We would say, well, we approved the amenity list, but the amenity list never gets published or accepted by the board because we don't get it.
Yeah,
And so I think that's just something that we've
yeah.
had oversight. So anyway, hopefully they'll get the report, they'll accept it, and then, I'll get back to you on the name.
Okay. Do you want me to keep going?
Yep.
So we'd like signage in some regard on that parcel, given that that phase one is supposed to be done at the end of October, per Alex. So can we get the old sign in existence, since we may not have a name yet?
So there was a open space sign that was placed on the Shanshan property when it first was purchased, even before the house was demolished. For some reason, it was removed or blown off. I'm not sure what happened to it, and nothing was replaced, or nothing was put back in its place. Now that it's actually.
But the poster's still there.
The posts that held the sign up are still there, so we were wondering if we can at least get some kind of sign put back up there to indicate this is open space, at least that this is open space. And then, depending on how things turn out, I'm not sure what the plan is to put a trailhead sign somewhere on that property, whether it's on those current posts or actually at the trailhead, which is where I think it should be personally. But yeah, that we just need to get some sign up.
I don't know, we'll send an email right now.
Awesome. And what about some type of unveiling or opening when it is done? What does everyone think? Thoughts, ideas?
Yes.
Seems
it should
reasonable to me.
happen.
Okay,
Yeah, we want to have like a grand opening with officially it'd be nice to unveil the name of the trail at the
Yeah.
opening.
Yeah.
I think it's an exciting idea. So if they're really done at the end of October, that would be a November thing, which should align with the name, no matter when they decide the name. So I don't know how we want to move forward with that, or
I don't know.
our next meeting. Yeah, so it's really in the next month, unless they have delays because of weather, and that's possible, of course.
So our next meeting would be the 13th.
Okay.
But if we decided on the date and everything on 13th, we'd be looking at December probably.
Right.
So I guess if the name is going to be decided at that same meeting, I guess we should ask the board to also decide on a grand opening date, I guess. I mean, we have grand openings for
Yep.
Great Clips and everything else around town. We should have a grand opening for, our trailhead.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice if Clint, our mayor, would be there, and hey, we had a ribbon across, and he actually cut that, and.
Yeah, I don't remember
or
what we did when we opened Wildflower, but we must have done something. The only thing, maybe they may not want to do it in the wintertime.
Right, so the sooner, if we
Yeah.
could get the naming decided and a grand
Yeah.
opening date decided
Yeah.
at that same board meeting, that would be great.
So then this would be
I mean, we could have like a soft opening, obviously, because it's gonna be open and
Right.
there's no gate, so people are gonna use it, but it'd be nice to, once the name's decided, we get a sign built and a
Yeah.
grand opening date.
So we need to do a
decided.
recommendation to the board.
Yes.
Anyone want to take a stab at it? OSAC recommends a grand opening / unveiling in some form after the completion of are you with me?
No, I know OSAC recommends.
I'm with you. Keep
A
going.
grand opening / unveiling in some form of the new Shanshan, I hate even using that name anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm worried about not having a name, is that we're gonna.
The trailhead to be named.
Formerly
Formerly known as.
Ideally, OSAC would prefer this opening to occur as soon as possible after completion, given seasonal, do I have a word there? Not hazards, seasonal
We got a lot of words there already.
complications. Given the change of seasons, how about that? In addition, OSAC requests the name be chosen by the board prior to the opening.
So that a sign can be constructed for placement on the trailhead.
I don't know how long it takes to make signs.
I have no idea either. Well, why not
We can
ask?
try.
We can try,
We can
right?
try.
I mean, that's the
It's
point.
government, you never know how long it takes
Right.
to
Yeah.
get done.
6 months, 2 days.
What was the date that was identified, that you said that, which board gave it?
10/28.
The 28th, thank you.
11.
10/28 for the next board
Oh,
meeting.
for the next board
Yep.
meeting, sorry.
Do we need to tweak it, Peter?
I'm still only about halfway through it.
Oh.
This is when you need to do voice or voice to text.
You wanted to have the ceremony happen as soon as possible after parking construction is complete due to weather.
Weather con-
Seasonal
weather.
change, due to the
Conditions.
change of seasons. And then just leave it at that.
Okay,
I think it's obvious.
and then there was, you were.
In
you were
addition,
requesting
OSAC
that the-
requests that the board choose or decide? Determine the trailhead's name prior to the opening. Maybe not determine.
Choose is fine.
Choose. Sean says choose.
I
Okay.
get a big piece of cardboard and write the name.
So professional.
It's temporary.
Yeah.
Maybe that's our prize we can give away is you get to cut the ribbon with the.
Oh, with the mayor, that would be cute.
And Sandy, you're gonna be there, right?
Well, I will be there, but I don't have to cut the ribbon. You guys,
Yeah,
I
maybe
mean,
so.
you guys did the work, I don't need to cut the ribbon, you should cut the ribbon.
How much is this parking lot costing?
100?
100K.
100, so it's $1 million investment at that point in time. That's a chunk of change.
Okay, so here's what I have so far. I'm thinking there are a few words missing, but just,
Welcome to my world,
yeah.
Peter.
OSAC recommends an opening and naming ceremony for the new trailhead on the Meadowlark Trail. OSAC recommends that the ceremony happen as soon as possible after parking construction is complete due to the change of seasons. OSAC requests that the board choose the trailhead name prior to the opening ceremony.
Can you go back to the first sentence?
Yep.
OSAC recommends
An opening and naming ceremony.
and naming unveiling.
Uh,
Name unveiling ceremony.
Name unveiling, okay.
And
If I knew how to spell veiling, that would be good, okay. So we have OSAC recommends an opening and name unveiling ceremony for the new trailhead.
okay.
But you're not saying where it's at.
Well, they do
the
know
new
that, though.
trailhead
It's a
on
good
I'm
point, but-
saying it's on the Meadowlark Trail.
Yeah.
Okay.
And since there's only one new trailhead
Yeah.
on the Meadowlark Trail.
And then, do you mind reading again? I'm sorry.
Sure thing. OSAC recommends an opening and name unveiling ceremony for the new trailhead on the Meadowlark Trail. OSAC recommends that the ceremony happen as soon as possible after parking construction is complete due to the change of seasons. OSAC requests that the board choose the trailhead name prior to the opening ceremony. And I realized there was something more about signage, right?
In order for
But in-
a sign to be made, if possible.
Prior to the
I
start.
would put in
maybe-
order with a trailhead sign made prior to the ceremony if possible. I don't really like that verbiage, but also one thing about the parking, you said construction, I don't know, but you could call it parking lot.
Okay.
Or we could call it phase 1, whatever we want to do.
No, not phase one.
Okay, parking lot. All right, one more time.
Okay, from the top. OSAC recommends an opening and name unveiling ceremony for the new trailhead on the Meadowlark Trail. OSAC recommends that the ceremony happen as soon as possible after parking lot construction is complete due to the change of seasons. OSAC requests that the board choose the trailhead name and create appropriate signage prior to the opening ceremony.
I like it.
Perfect.
Okay.
You guys are awesome.
I make a motion to, I can't think, that's as far as I got.
She says get laid, isn't it?
To-
I am.
Adopt the
To
recommendation.
adopt the
As
recommendation
read.
as Peter read.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Done.
Great, great.
Okay. All right, on to the next.
Town of
So-
Livingston.
Are you
Nope,
done with
we're-
Shannon or
no,
not done with
sorry.
Shannon?
We'll try to
Nope,
be
sorry.
fast.
That's okay.
So phase one, I'm just gonna read off what we have and
Go.
you interject as you want, Sean.
Fine.
So on the update, we already said it's supposed to be done by the end of October. The parking lot is graded, the drainage is complete, it's being formed. The drive cut happened this week. The paving of the driveway will the drive will happen next week. Fencing and parking, that's per Allison, I don't know about that, will be done after the construction is complete. And then Sean and I had thoughts about the drive cut. We're not,
So does anyone else have any concerns that you just drive up McCaslin, you see this, you know, it's pretty steep drive up McCaslin, all of a sudden you have this driveway. There's no cut, there's no lane to pull over into to get into it, it's just a driveway. And then once you get in the driveway, you have to like you have to take a pretty hard right to get around the corner and then up the driveway. My concern is it's not very safe the way it's constructed right now. I feel like there should be a pullover lane so that people, you know, again, I'm assuming that it was built the way it was because of cost, but it feels like there should be a lane for entering and exiting so that, because McCaslin gets very busy, especially as cars are zooming up the hill to the stoplight, to safely enter and exit that. And I can just see an accident happening because you're trying to pull over and there's cars coming up behind you, and then you're going in and then you're having to pull in, and then, you know, I don't know. It's just me. It just visually, it looked different on the blueprint than it does now. And the parking lot's kind of at a slant, and I don't know, just me.
it's not just you, and I'm worried about complaints about the trailhead in general, just because of that access in and out, slowing down traffic on McCaslin. People like to go at a fast clip up that road, and I'm one of those people, you know? So I think there's gonna be other people who are disturbed by someone going slow, not knowing why.
Yeah,
And then
especially-
them really slowing down to make that curve, that sharp curve.
Because
in.
if the sign, again, the sign is very important where it's placed at the entrance, because it's not obvious. I mean, it kind of sneaks up and you're like, oh, there it is. And, you know, people are going to be new people. Where's the trailhead? Oh, there it is. Oh my gosh, I got to turn here.
Yeah.
And there's going to be, I don't know.
It's not what we expected.
I thought there was actually going to be a
A
turn lane into it, and a speed up, you know, as you come out, a lane that you can kind of speed up and get into traffic and because they're all going to be trying to get over the other lane to go at the light, U-turn, and then go the other way down McCaslin if people are coming up.
What does everyone else think?
It's,
So it doesn't match the plans?
so I had to look at the plans again, because I thought the plans were just of the trailhead, not of what the road design was going to be. And nope, it sure matches the actual blueprint, because it just shows a driveway basically going out on McCaslin, no cutout. I'm like, oh boy.
Well, I mean, I don't know how you would fit a cutout with the brand-new constructed sidewalk. There's not enough room for
Well,
a
you don't
turn
rip
lane.
up the sidewalk.
But that's, you have to, take out the sidewalk, and I don't know, that's
I
the
haven't
thing.
looked at it that carefully.
I mean, I didn't expect a
Well,
turn in and turn out,
You didn't?
Lane.
Okay.
but I also didn't expect the chicane going into the.
Ooh, fancy word.
Thank you.
How do
How do you spell that?
Such chicanery.
Oh my God.
CHICANE.
Wow.
I learn a new word every time we have a meeting.
We all accepted it, so.
That's right. It's
Yeah,
true.
we did. It's just not what we expected.
I guess my thinking, I mean, it is a two-lane road. You are going uphill, and yes, people do fly up it, but
Yep.
I'd be much more concerned about if people are coming downhill and braking hard
Totally.
into it.
I think it's will be worse getting out. I mean,
That's the problem, is the getting out part, in my opinion, because you're coming from a complete stop basically, and there's traffic come up, and you have to get across the 2 lanes over to the turn lane, which is not that much farther up the road, and I don't know, I just see potential accidents happening.
I need to look at it more carefully. I don't perceive that it's
Why is
that
there such a
busy.
right turn once you get out the McCaskill?
we don't know why the sharp turn.
I think it was just because of the layout of the flatness of the land, and there's like a ditch or something there. You have to kind of go over the ditch. You can't just go straight across because of the ditch that's there, which they put a drainage pipe underneath it. So you have to go across the drainage. I forget the exact reason, but there was a reason.
My only other thoughts on it are, I think it introduces a little bit of peril for our nicely constructed sidewalk for cyclists, hikers, things like that, with cars turning across it now.
Yeah.
But cyclists or walkers coming up are going to be going pretty slow, so they should have some time to recognize us. Coming down a little faster, but I see a lot more people going up on that side than down.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
a good point.
And my other thought on it is, I assume people who build these things know a lot more about it than I do. And so I kind of defer to, I bet they did it for a reason. I just don't know what that reason is. But I kind of had the same reaction as you guys did when I saw that. Chicane again, thanks. Like I kind of paused and thought, I wonder what that's about.
I call it a G-haw. It's a left-right.
I think your point is spot on, though, Joel. They hopefully know better, and hopefully we are alarmists for no reason. Can I move on?
Yep.
Okay. So phase 2, I presented, we all know that at the September 16th budget meeting. We already talked about the requesting, and that in the presentation, there was a long discussion afterwards that we really talked about where that money should come from. That was kind of the focus of the talk. Whether it comes from the general fund or the open space fund. So to be continued on the at the 10/14 board meeting. And do I need to summarize anything else from that presentation? Does anyone else want to know? Okay, great.
I'll just say it was a really good presentation. I was really impressed.
Thank you for being there. I really
Good job.
appreciate it.
I wish I could.
I don't think it was great because I was talking like a million miles a minute to try to fit it all in there.
No, you did great.
Yeah? Oh,
You did
thanks.
great. I went back and watched the tape,
Oh,
because obviously I missed it. 'cause I
Good.
thought it was
So
doing a great
fast,
job.
she had to catch it all.
I wasn't-
She did a great job.
I wasn't talking too fast, okay. Well, good, I appreciate both of you saying that. It was kind of, I'll just summarize super fast. It was kind of mixed, small, medium, large. And the biggest advocates for everything were Mayor Folsom, Trustee Ryan, and Trustee Hammerly and Trustee Sladinsky were missing. But it seemed like funding was fairly in line, I thought, to come from the general fund, but we'll just see where that all plays out on Monday. And then the last 2 things is, I don't know if we need to talk about it, but Trustee Sladinsky had a post on her blog that said that the board will be discussing whether to continue to use open space funds for side project or reserve it only for acquisition of open space. I assumed that was just directed towards Shan Shan as a side project. We don't really know, but that was just an assumption on my part. She did say that they were gonna talk about it in 10/14, so we'll learn more then. And then the only thing I had left, before, if Sean has anything else to say, is, I had the question in my head the whole time I presented, and like when, Trustee Lish was talking about, if the question came to us, is our priority spending all of our money on acquisition and tabling Shan Shan? And that never really directly came, but I wonder if that might be a question on Monday that will arise. And I can't speak to that because I'm one member, but if it comes down to, we can't fund this out of the general fund, we have too much, blah, 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 you can do it out of your open space fund, I guess that could always come back to us at a meeting and we could decide then. But if there's a direct question at the meeting and someone else is representing all of us, like Kate or Ryan, what should the answer be? For me, it would be acquisition is our priority. That's the reason why this was
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt.
created. And I did say that, But I can't speak for all of OSAC.
I'm in line with that.
No, I think that's
And
our
we made a
mission.
recommendation when all of this went down last year with the CenturyLink property. And I feel like that, the statement that we made that was very bold around basically do everything you possibly can to obtain this because this is our number one priority. So I feel like even that, not that we have to repeat that per
Right.
se, but I think that even
Well, when did we make that statement?
last November.
So that was the new board was on? Or
Correct.
the old board? The new board was on,
Mhm.
okay,
Yep.
okay.
I mean, I think if we wanted to make another, bold statement, I think that's.
We
I
could, yeah, or even
always-
just have it on the back burner.
Yep.
While we desire this, we desire
priority is
to
still-
prioritize our funds for open space acquisition.
Yep.
And I mean, I think we were pretty clear on the budget request for the Shan amenities that it would be a general fund thing. I mean, we didn't say,
Yeah.
spend it out of this
And
or this pot, but
I
this should
think
be.
that's what Matt had said whenever we had our board dinner.
Yeah, well, and Patrick came out
Well,
and said.
I will tell you that Matt says he did not say that. So,
I don't remember.
I mean, because I asked him specifically, I said, OSEC is firmly of the belief that you told them
I said
that it would come out of general fund, and Matt says he did not say that. He said, if we spend all, he says, obviously, if you commit all of the funds for, if we were to buy Zaharias or CenturyLink, then it would have to compete, just like everything else, out of capital improvement budget. But other than that, he didn't have a recommendation one way or the other.
So Sean and I had a meeting with Patrick in doing all the Shan stuff, and Patrick had ideas we went through the whole amenity list on where we could get all that funding. And of course, we didn't write it down, and Patrick is gone, and so that's the end of all of that, so here we are.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure Patrick told us at one of our meetings that.
Did he as well?
That it would
He
be,
did.
it would be a plausible thing to do to
Okay.
recommend it out of general fund.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well, we will try.
I don't know what the, see where I went.
Do you have anything else on Shan?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
So before we do anything else, we didn't go over Peter's BOCO management plan for irrigated properties that could affect HHR, which was supposed to be F before look at updates and look ahead.
Yep.
That's right.
That's okay. So.
Oh, yeah, right, thanks for reminding that. So that's basically just a piece of information for all of us, is that apparently Boulder County is going to be redoing the management plan for irrigated properties that use water out of HHR, out of Hodgson-Harris Reservoir. I wonder whether we want to, is it appropriate for the town to want to have input on that? And do we want to recommend that? Is that something we should just kind of be thinking about? It's not an immediate thing that's going to happen, but it'll be like over the next year.
Say that again? Because I thought the HHR was used for the pumpkin farm. All the water from that was used for the pumpkin farm down the road, is that
Which Boulder County owns.
Okay.
I just
And-
don't know
and
if they own
So that's the only irrigated property you're talking about, though, right? Or is there more than that?
I honestly don't know. It's, the main recipient is definitely Rock Creek Farm, which is the pumpkin farm.
Right.
Well, I would recommend that we do have some input because of how your report detailed that the lowering of the level completely changed the habitat this year.
So
So,
that and the town spent money to restore that reservoir, so I think we have a say in it.
Well, we have an intergovernmental agreement.
Right.
That, I don't know how much of a say it says that we have, but at least there's a piece of paper that,
yeah.
that says. I can try and find out more about that and kind of come back at another meeting if you think that that's all, if y'all think that's appropriate.
I mean, I definitely think it's something we should have on our radar.
Mhm.
I mean, even if we don't have a say, we can at least see what their policy changes to. I mean, see how it affects us, right?
And try to have a say if it's
Yeah.
possible. And it goes along with adding that wetlands to
Mhm.
the
Right.
agendas.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot it.
That's okay. All right, so back to updates and look aheads.
Awesome, thank you.
Town of Louisville meeting update.
Does anyone want to do a play-by-play? Anyone?
Yeah, I think you're the one with the written notes.
I have like chicken scratch notes over
Well,
here.
we had.
So we had the mayor there at one point in
Yeah.
time, and we had 6 of, what's their committee called? Whatever their open space committee is called.
OSAB.
As well as the OSAC superintendent and staff liaison to the board, Ember. And we talked about trail connections, US 36 Bikeway to Mayhofer. And we already discussed that tonight, so I don't think we need to dive into that again. The Rocky Mountain Greenway and Superior's response. We talked about
Wayfinding.
Rocky Flats and et cetera, that we've talked about ad nauseum here, so we don't need to discuss that. Connectivity with the ConocoPhillips 66, that was a large portion of the conversation. And then Coal Creek Trail access and nature plays. We talked about what we're gonna do here, the plan for downtown Superior and our 2 parks and the whole Coal Creek, and that they want to incorporate something like that as well, if possible. Then we talked about wayfinding, and then we ended on Marshall Lake, that their mayor had a great idea to potentially do a trail or even some type of access to Marshall Lake if that is at all possible. How was that?
The only thing I was going to add to that, it's happened after the meeting, but David Blankenship, who was one of the Louisville committee members, he just put out an informal poll asking a bunch of the 36 bike commuters, it's a group on a Strava, athletic tracking site, about what connections they'd like to see, and kind of solicited some input from, there's 10 or 12 people that responded to it. So just, community outreach that way, which I thought was a great idea.
Yeah.
So
I'm just impressed by their committee. They are so professional and comprehensive, and they have such a great relationship with their board.
And it sounded like, and that's what you and I talked about, that development plans or developers actually present to them directly and not just to the board.
And
Not just to the town council.
Yes, and presented. The
Mhm.
developers come and present to them. That was huge.
Yep, that it's not them trying to
Just
do like
trying to-
we do, which we're trying our best, but knowing,
we try to interpret
which is
in a PDF.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other updates on that?
Can we make a change about that, a request about that? Is that something that could happen ever, Sandy, that the developer presents to ProStac and OSAC?
I would have, I think you'd have to ask town staff whether that would be possible,
Okay, I'll add it to my list.
because I
Yep.
don't know whether they would put that wrinkle in the process or not. It seems like it's a reasonable request to me.
I mean, we see the proposal. I don't know why we couldn't have their voice over.
And we're asked to look at it.
Well, and I know I had asked during the budget process that we get additional planning staff, because I said, basically you guys just throw these 300-page proposals at, I said, it's overwhelming for a board member, and then you throw it at staff or at the committee. They don't have even the limited amount of expertise we do, and I said, it's really not fair that it just gets kind of dumped on them at a meeting, and yet, they just looked at a 300-unit proposal, and, it's just not right. So I think pushing back on that and saying you'd like to have a presentation, I think that's not unreasonable. Because the thing is, the land use proposal sits with the town for months.
Right.
I mean, Stevens had Toll Brothers for probably 3 or 4 months. He has Zaharias for months, and it goes back and forth. And that's part of the reason why we now, as soon as it comes to the town, it is supposed to be posted out on the website so the public knows what's out there and they have the opportunity, because it used to be we didn't even know they had come.
Right.
So anytime during that process, it doesn't have to wait until right before it comes to the planning commission. I mean, in theory, you guys could see it 5 days after it gets presented, as long as somebody came in and gave you the presentation of what you need to make comments on, including things like, well, because you had talked about the percentage of the
Right.
parcel that was open space, and then, to be quite honest, you got some song and dance about, oh, well, the percentage is elsewhere in the community. Well, but you're looking at one parcel.
Right.
So that's really kind of splitting hairs there a little bit. So, I think that's a reasonable request. I think it'd be
Or
helpful.
Allison. Start with Allison?
Yeah, I'd start with Allison first.
It is above our pay grade.
Yeah. Coal Creek reconstruction, town staff, actually, Brian said there's nothing new, I don't believe. Bird box update.
So that's going forward. The town is, or the board approved a budget to be used out of the open space fund to do all kinds of Raptor Box related stuff through 2020. Allison has been working with our consultant from the Colorado Avian Research and Rehabilitation Institute. He's delivered a bunch of boxes. The ones that were able to be installed on trees have been installed.
Nice.
The request from town staff and also from the consultant is that we, at this point, don't publicize the locations of these. So anyway, there's boxes for a family of screech owls and one box for kestrels up on trees. The thing that everybody's super excited about is the ones with webcams in them. And we've had a setback on that. Early last summer, a location was determined that had both power and Wi-Fi for the webcams. And it turns out, we found out a couple of weeks ago that that's not going to work. And so
Bummer.
Allison set up a driving tour with me and Jim from Public Works and Scott Rashid, who's the consultant, to look at a couple of different locations. There's another one that is probably going to work, but it needs a little bit of infrastructure upgrade. And I think staff are continuing to work on that. I don't exactly know what the process is there.
So I just had a question. How in the world can't we do something along the lines of what Boulder County does at the fairgrounds with that,
Osprey?
with the Osprey? Is there a reason we cannot do that? I mean, that's pretty much right out there. And I know we've been talking about trying to do secluded sites. Obviously, this is one of my little favorite projects in the town. But that camera's right out in the middle of nowhere. Everybody sees it. And you can drive down Hover Road and you can see the nests and everything. So is there a reason? Obviously it would be more expensive than putting it in a little owl box in town, but something open like that. Is it because we couldn't get them to nest on a stand like that?
So we don't actually have osprey in town.
I know we can't have an osprey. But we have owls and we have other things that, are there other animals that we could put, the thing in a tree or something?
You're looking at specifically something open?
Well, I'm just saying, why do we have to attach it to a building? Because that
Okay.
seemed to be part of when we were trying to find a place to put it.
So
We could only, the spot we were looking at was on a building that was relatively
The Osprey
secluded.
nest is basically on top of a pole.
Yeah, and so was there a way we could put a pole somewhere in the tent? Obviously, it's not an osprey. I know a little bit about birds, not a lot.
right, well, I just
yeah.
wanted to
A crane box?
to
Yeah,
clarify that.
well, but I just didn't know whether there were things you could put out for owls or hawks or kestrels or whatever it might be, so.
Yeah, well, so as we were talking about this last spring, so there's no reason you couldn't do that. But the reasons that we decided not to try that is that, so what Louisville does, they actually built a platform for great horned owls. And since there wasn't public Wi-Fi and power there, they actually ran an extension cord, I believe, out of a private residence and piggybacked off of the Wi-Fi in that private residence. And so town staff didn't think that was a really smart thing to do for us, for a town-sponsored project, which I agree with.
Yeah.
So the next thing that you can do is to put up a solar panel to power it with a battery, and then use LTE or cellular data to do the feed. And that would certainly be possible, but it's kind of an engineering thing and it's pretty expensive. And so given that we would, given
How
that-
expensive?
Tens of thousands, thousands?
It would be thousands probably. But kind of an engineering thing to do as well. And I think that the impression that I got as we were doing the discussion is that until we kind of got this project off the ground, nobody really wanted to dive into that much stuff.
Okay, I won't give up yet.
No, please don't. I'd be super excited about it. And in fact, we have locations where great horned owls nest every single year. There's a huge nest there, and we know that they use it every single year. So what you would need to do is just put a camera on a branch there with the necessary power and wireless. This is what Westminster does with the bald eagle nest at Stanley Lake. I mean, it's in a tree, it's the same place every year, and they just put a camera on it next to it with all this additional infrastructure. And we totally could do that. The thing is that for a few $100s, you can tack a box onto the side of a building that has this other stuff. And
2021.
yeah. But I completely agree with you that that would be a fantastic thing to do. At this point, based on what staff could do and so
So
forth,
it's not
it was a bridge too
impossible.
far. No,
It's
not at all.
more of a practicality and cost.
Money.
Well, and just finding somebody who's willing to do that, all the engineering for it, right?
Would that organization do that engineering, or?
Who do boulders? Do we know?
I think Boulder does it themselves. And I think it's Boulder County.
It is Boulder County, yeah, because it's at the
Yeah.
fairgrounds, but
They actually have a couple of them.
I only follow the one at the present one.
Yes.
That's the only one I know of.
For next year, that would definitely be something to look at.
Okay.
So anyway.
Is it a crazy idea to try to collaborate with BOCO? If they already have someone who's doing that technology, and we are in BOCO.
Right, that's all I can think of is like, why can't we use that open
Or
source first?
if we can pay them to do it.
Right.
You know, sorry. It's my little pet project. so.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I could talk with you.
I'm doing it for you,
It-
but I think it's just a really cool
No,
thing.
I
And
appreciate it. And
I think our kids would just
it's
eat it
great
alive.
community
We just
engager.
need to figure out which board member lives closest to this so they can share their Wi-Fi password. So-
Yeah,
And an extension cord.
Genius.
yeah.
Till they term out.
It's probably me.
And you know people
If it's the one.
at
No,
BOCO,
we
right?
have owls that are in the neighborhood, so
Yeah.
it could be near us.
Uh, So since none of this would be on Boulder County property, I'm not 100% sure that would, I mean, we could go and ask them,
Yeah, maybe it could be.
how they do it.
Right.
Boulder County doesn't actually work with Cary, but,
Oh, okay, all right, we'll talk more.
yeah.
Um,
So anyway, hopefully we'll have that by the end of the year. Then there's another potential phase, which is boxes that would be mounted on poles someplace. That doesn't really seem to be moving forward too much because the priority is getting the webcams up right now.
Okay,
Um,
that's
So
exciting.
that's where that is.
Awesome, thank you.
Can I add one quick bird thing really fast?
Please do.
There was I thought was an injured raptor right next to my house, and I called BOCO, and they said that's in the town of Superior. We won't come there. I'll put a word out to the ranger, and we'll call you back, but that's the town of Superior. And I thought, who else do I know? What can I do? I tried to call the raptor, what are they called? The people who come every year at Trails Day.
Yeah, HawkQuest.
HawkQuest. I don't remember if they didn't pick up or what. So I called Peter, of course. And he came, and everything turned out to be fine. But his recommendation, if anyone encounters that in the future, is to call, which organization?
Birds of Prey Foundation, which is in Broomfield.
Birds of Prey Foundation.
So I think that could go into a newsletter article,
That's a great idea for a newsletter.
right?
Yeah. That's all.
Anyway, cool, I like it. Standing updates, conservation fund update.
Yes, I have. All right, so good progress, and I know limited knowledge, of course, but it sounds like multi-city and county communication, potential collaboration, town board support thus far. Trustee Hammerly can fill us in if she knows anything more, and maybe concrete answers in the next month, 2 months?
Seems like a great idea, but.
Okay, well, that's all we've got.
Yeah, we haven't really, I don't think we've really had much discussion on it. I think we got an appraisal on the property, and that was the last we got.
Yeah, okay. So holding pattern.
We're in a holding
Kinda.
pattern.
Yeah.
I think we're waiting to hear back from our partners at
Conservation Fund.
Conservation.
Yep, okay. All right. Everything there accurate that I said? Okay.
Rocky Mountain Greenway?
So really the only update I have, I've circulated the emails I've received, but it all revolves around the testing that's going on the soil. As far as I can understand, and some of this is above me at times, but there's one soil sample that has come back elevated. The rest are within what is deemed EPA normal. But there is further testing going on that will take, I believe, to the end of this year before we have a clear picture. Now, one interesting thing that is in one of the emails I sent out, I believe this week, is actually show the locations of the samples, which to me was what I wanted to know is
Right.
where did it test positive, and just to kind of correlate the area that's being tested and what's being tested. So I think everything is kind of waiting on further testing and analysis before it moves.
Okay.
I don't know, like, well, they just had that meeting, the Jefferson Parkway Highway Authority, so I don't, like, the line of Rocky Mountain Greenway and, the Jefferson Parkway is a little fuzzy in my head sometimes. But CDPHE is going to do a risk assessment, and it sounded to me like it was for the whole buffer zone, and that could take a year to a year and a half. But I don't know how that plays into the Greenway, so.
Yep. Well, I think the Greenway is secondary to Jefferson Parkway. I mean,
Okay.
I think Jefferson Parkway has more momentum than the Greenway at the moment.
Okay. So it sounds like Brookfield's gonna vote on if they're gonna give any more money. Oh, I cannot remember, but sometime in November.
Yep.
And so maybe more answers thereafter.
Oil and gas issues. Marcy usually updates us on that. Raptor program?
So aside from the nest boxes, I think you guys all got the kind of end of year blurb about that. A couple of takeaways for us to just keep in mind is that there was, to me, a surprisingly large number of raptor nests in town that we were able to find, 10. And importantly, 7 of those were in Plains cottonwood trees. 3 out of the 4 species that we have nesting in town nested exclusively in Plains cottonwoods. If we don't have large, like really large mature Plains cottonwoods, it's unlikely that we would continue to have those raptor species nesting in town. And I kind of get the impression that there's not a lot of enthusiasm for replacing Plains cottonwoods that are cut down or die. So I don't know what we specifically do about it, but if you're talking about a 50-year turnaround to get a big enough tree to support the nests, it's something that you can't kind of wait until they're all gone and then decide to do something about it. So maybe at some point we could think about a resolution to encourage raptor nesting habitat, which would specifically include large trees like that.
Maybe we could plant a couple on Shan Shan to start.
Well, there's that lovely big one.
Yeah, there is already one there, yeah.
There were supposed to be Plains cottonwoods along the new reconstruction here, and those didn't get put in apparently yet. I don't know if they are or not, but.
That's an action for Allison then to find out, since she wasn't able to report on the Cold Creek reconstruction, when those will get planted. So another action for, she's got quite an action list.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
It may be that those have gone in since the last time I walked down there, but that was.
They'll find out when the trees are going in at the Cold Creek.
Yeah.
Yep, I've pulled this for you too. Is there a reason we can't do that sooner than later? Because I know ProStack just did a whole evaluation of their trees all throughout town, and they know, Sandy, you'd be able to speak to that, but don't they know exactly what tree they have where and when they're gonna put new trees in and how many every year? And
I think the town staff actually did it.
Okay.
Yeah, and they do have pretty much every tree in town and what it is and where it is. And because I saw the chart at one of the ProStack meetings I went to.
Yeah, Matt Rarick created a report. He talked about it briefly at a staff meeting last week, so I could see if he can share that with you.
yeah, and do you know when they next plan to put in new trees?
You know, he mentioned it, I didn't pay too close attention to it, but I do know that there is something coming up, I think fairly soon. I was trying to remember now if it was before the weather's going downhill, but
Okay.
I can put that on the list too for more info.
Thank you.
Awesome, thanks.
All right. Anything else? Last call? All right, we are adjourned, 9:21.
All right, so who do I send my minutes to? Because I didn't get all that.
Send it to me.
I thought this was supposed to be an easy meeting.
No, it was.
So
They
Peter,
were.
send the quote that you captured from Tracy to,
She's got it.
oh, you got it
Yes, he
already.
linked me already, if you want to send me
I'll
what you
send
have,
that.
and then between the three of us?
Yeah,
I put
and
something
Tracy
together.
too, because Tracy has the actions for
Okay.
Alice, and I didn't capture those, so.
But we want to.
This is still pretty rough. You may want to look at it like tomorrow.
I will. There are
With a
times
glass of
though that I don't
wine.
get around to it until the, like, Tuesday afterwards, and I'm like,
Maybe
what does
look at
any of this mean? I
Before
do.
8 PM.
Ugh.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
After having
I
a few
actually tried,
cookies.
I need to actually set it in my schedule for Thursday morning after OSEC, just take care of minutes, because I can't recall everything.